Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of The Truth here on the John Rocha channel. It's been a while. It's been a minute since we did The Truth, since I went solo and had a show. But I'm telling you right now, this is going to become a much more of an occurrence here on the channel because I am absolutely determined to do more live shows almost every day, or another video, another pre-recorded video as well. So I want to do more content. I'm thinking in my head going into 2026, averaging 2 videos a day, including on Saturdays and Sundays, is the way to go here on the channel. I have to work hard to make that happen. I've bought some new equipment. Some of it's already come in. I've got some bunch of new lights. I'll be getting a new setup here on the desk to help me do all of that here on the channel. I'm excited as we go into 2026, our 6th year in motion, in existence, I guess is the word I would say, in existence, because in 2020 it was when all that stuff went down. I had a YouTube channel, but I did literally nothing on it, and it wasn't until, of course, all that stuff went down in 2020 that I started the channel, and here we go. We are almost celebrating 6 years on the channel. Next February will be February 1st, I think, will be 6 years that the channel has been around. So I'm excited as I go into the new year to see what is going to happen. But, we've still got a few more weeks left in this year. There's a lot still to happen this year. Certainly there's a lot of drama happening this week with everything that's going on with WB and Netflix and Paramount, everything like that. So can you guys hear me, by the way? I want to make sure you guys can hear me because I do not have my normal setup. I've connected everything through my MacBook Pro because right now, as I said, we're in transition to have new equipment coming into the office. There was a nice little Black Friday sale. And so I got to pick up some stuff here that is going to be part of it. You got to invest in yourself, people. You got to invest in yourself. And certainly I've hit that kind of level where I understand I've got to level up. And part of leveling up is buying a little bit more expensive equipment. Hopefully the video quality, the audio quality will be good. I'm very happy with already with the lighting that the lighting change, a much more even lighting change that I have going on here, which I appreciate. And thank you, Dennis Hoffman, already off the bat sending a super chat. Yes, this is a live show, and I exist on your Streamlabs and super chat supporting us here on the channel, whether it's on this show or the Hot Mic or when we occasionally go live with the Geek Buddies. We appreciate it madly. So if you can send in any support as we go along with your questions, thoughts, and comments, I would appreciate it. Of course, the number one thing is to subscribe down below if you're trying out my channel for the first time. If you've never tried me out live, get ready, strap in. It's going to be a hell of a ride. And those of you who've been with me through the last 5 years, as I've done some live shows, you never know what to expect, where I'm going to go and what I'm going to say and how insane it's going to be or how fun it's going to be or how off base or how on point it's going to be, because I just always speak from the heart and where I'm at and what I'm talking about. Always it comes from a place of actual truth. So that's the approach I'm having today. But yes, I'm working with my MacBook Pro. Usually have my Mac Mini in display, but that has been moved over to the Lady Outlaws side of the house, and I'll be having a new one coming in here in the next couple of days. So for now, we're on this little bit of a somewhat janky approach to things, but I kind of like it. It's clearing up a little more space on the desk, so I appreciate it overall for sure. But yes, I want to thank you all so much for joining me here. Already 100 of you joining me live. Thank you so much. We're going to get into this drama here that is happening in our world of entertainment with the WB merger. Netflix, of course, purchasing WB, but now Paramount this morning announcing that they're doing a hostile takeover bid. There were all kinds of things that were revealed in the SEC filing that's a little suspicious in terms of the people who are behind Paramount's bid. Then you've got President Donald Trump coming out saying, listen, I haven't chosen a side on this. Both of them have been bad to me, which I think is really funny. And so now we're in this place where everyone thinks they know what's going on. Everyone's pontificating. All these high-priced writers at these high-priced sites are trying to tell you what they believe is going to happen and where it's going to all go. But to be honest with you, I'll tell you what, nobody fucking knows. It certainly feels like it's going to be Netflix's, but then depending on the hour, sometimes even the minute, it feels like maybe Paramount is going to come through here and force everything to go down. And I'm here to talk to you about the truth, which is to destroy those narratives you hear going on and try to give you some semblance of the truth here with all the moving pieces and moving parts. And of course, the truth tonight might not be the truth by tomorrow morning. This is how fast this thing is moving nowadays, or the last few days rather, with this story. And it's just insane to see how many moving parts on this. Usually you go for something, you lose out, that's it, you move on, you accept the L and you go. No, what we've got here is a lot of power players with a lot of money. We're talking billions, tens of billions of dollars that are going to be funneled in to try to get Warner Brothers, right? Netflix, for those of you who don't know, maybe you've been living under a rock for the last few days, but certainly Netflix has initially won the bid. I think it was $82 billion. I got my notes here, $82 billion of what they did here. But there's much more that's gone on since that time, which seems like maybe a week ago, even though it was like 48 hours ago. Much more has gone on since that time to let us know where all of this is going to end up and where this all might be going. It's a little insane to see how it's all playing out, to be honest with you, and where it's going to lead us to. I will absolutely do my best to guess all of that as well. So we're going to get into that. Now, I just want to let you know, we're also going to get into the Golden Globe nominations. We're going to get into the Critics' Choice Award nominations. I'll say this now, and I'll say it again when we talk about it. I'm a member of the Critics' Choice, so I will say full disclosure in that when talking about it. So we'll get into that. We'll talk some Sydney Sweeney stuff and that apology. We'll talk about Kelsey Grammer and the nonsense that dribbled out of his mouth yesterday. And we'll talk about the Kennedy Center. We'll talk about all kinds of things. And we can talk about what you want to talk about. That's what's great about The Truth, to be honest with you, is my way of connecting with you guys and my way of getting to know you guys. I love the interactive nature of the live shows that I do. You guys know I whatever my issues may be, or whatever, sometimes I misread stuff and get upset at somebody and misread their intention. My overall goal here is to enjoy my time with you guys because I love you guys. I'm very humbled and honored that you'll spend time with me when you could be anywhere else to hang out and talk about all this kind of stuff. So I appreciate you all being here. As I said, the Streamlabs Super Chats are open. I didn't even pin that in the chat here. Let me pin it in the chat, or else Ed will give me some shit if I don't pin it in the chat. But just to say, if you guys want to send in some questions, thoughts, and comments, send in some love as we go along, because there's going to be a lot we're going to be talking about here on the show for sure. So let's see here. Where am I at? Here we go. Okay, so let me pin this in the chat for now, and we'll see. And I've got 135 of you already joining me live, which I appreciate madly. Let me see here. Yes, there we go. Enable monetization. Paste. And pin. There we go. All right. All of that but it's been a busy day today, so I'm a little bit flying by the seat of my pants. So please forgive me if I seem a little bit more frantic or frazzled than usual. But I will level out here as we go along because you're catching me right as we finished a bunch of stuff here in the house, and I'm jumping on here live to talk about this stuff. So, all right, so that's what we're going to get into here today. And as I said, anything you guys want to talk about, anything you guys want to get into, any subjects you want me to cover, make sure you send in your Streamlabs Super Chats. I will cover it. I will talk about it. I will get into it, whatever it may be. And if I have to look it up, I will look it up. And we'll talk about it for sure. But the first thing we should definitely talk about, let's get into it right off the bat, is what I alluded to here. The madness that is going on in Hollywood right now with the WB merger. And that's those three gentlemen right there. You see the power players in this whole equation there, with David Zaslav right there in the middle, Ted Sarandos on the right, and David Ellison on the left there. And you see that these are the guys that are moving around and the moving pieces to make this all happen. And when last we left, just to give you a little bit of a background before we get too deep into the stuff, when last we left this particular equation, Netflix had absolutely won this thing. Warner Brothers had announced they won this thing. It was like $82 billion, as I said, and they were ready to go. $72 billion with about $10 billion. They were ready to go into this business. But now what we've found out today is that Paramount has launched a hostile takeover bid. They are going to look at how much, look at the $30 per share plan that they had already submitted before. They are going in that direction. They are going to value Warner Brothers Discovery at $108 billion as they seek to derail Netflix's deal. Paramount's offer includes $24 billion from Saudi Arabia. That's the PIF fund from Prince Mohammed bin Salman, Qatar, and Abu Dhabi wealth funds. Tencent had been involved, which is a Chinese company, but Tencent removed themselves. Now, a lot of people are like, Tencent's no longer part of the equation. Let me tell you something. Let's deal with the reality, all right? Let's stop living in fantasy land and candy land. The reality of things are when this kind of money is involved and when certain companies who have a reputation, some would say nefarious, some would say suspicious, some would say honorable, they have a reputation of doing business in a certain way. where they kind of play with the rules and play with loopholes. Just because they've removed themselves from the people who are part of the bid, it does not mean that their money won't find their way through loopholes or through shell companies or through LLCs to be a part of this whole situation. And so I think that's something you guys have to keep into account when we look at this thing and when we look at what's going on with this particular deal. But yes, it is $30 a share that they are allegedly offering at this point. And they announced it this morning. And the deal itself, though, which is really interesting, is it's the same terms that were offered in a December 4th bid submitted to the Warner Brothers Discovery Board. The proposed transaction is for the entirety of Warner Brothers Discovery. So not just the films and the IP involved with the film and the theatrical side of things, but also on the TV side with CNN, TBS, TNT, and other networks. Of course, we know TNT with NBA basketball. A lot of people have been chiming in on that. We also know AEW is involved. The pro wrestling organization is involved with all of these things that have been going on, because we know that AEW does their pay-per-views on HBO Max. So how much is that involved with this whole thing once WB gets bought? And if it's actually Paramount, what are they going to do when they've got AEW? What's going to happen with that if they actually get it? Or is Netflix going to get AEW? But Netflix doesn't want the TV side of things. So Netflix is not going to have a conflict between WWE and AEW, because they have WWE. They don't have AEW, but I doubt they put them all under the same umbrella, because it's very clear that they're waiting for the split to happen, which is, I think, in April of 2026. The TV side is going to be one thing. The movie side is another thing. And certainly Netflix is interested in the movie side. But Paramount wants it all. And this is something that's really curious when you look at it. They're taking their bid directly to WBD shareholders. And according to Paramount, it's an all-cash offer that equates to an enterprise value of $108.4 billion, including the assumption of debt, with an equity value of $77.9 billion. Now, I'm like you guys. I hear those numbers and my eyes glaze over and I just start to fall backwards in my chair and pass out, because that is so much money. And you wonder, where are they going to get this money? How do they get this money? Well, this is going to be an interesting thing as we go deeper into this story here. But in contrast, the Netflix proposal entails a, quote, volatile and complex structure. That's what they're claiming, valued at $27.75 a share in a mix of cash and stock, subject to collar and the future performance of Netflix, equating to an enterprise value of $82.7 billion. That's how we got there, which excludes the TV business. And that's what Paramount said. Paramount's decorating it this way. Paramount is portraying the Netflix bid this way, volatile and all of that. Paramount said its deal offer for WBD would close within 12 months, compared with Netflix's projected 12 to 18 months for completing its deal. WBD is required by law to inform shareholders within 10 business days whether it will accept or reject Paramount Skydance's $30 a share offer. Paramount's tender offer, which was approved unanimously by its board, is scheduled to expire at 5 p.m. ET on January 8th of 2026, unless the offer is extended. Paramount, David Ellison, came out, and Nepo baby David Ellison came out and said, our proposal is superior to Netflix in every dimension. He said on a call with analysts and investors this morning, Paramount's strategically and financially compelling offer to WBD shareholders provides a superior alternative to the Netflix transaction, which offers inferior and uncertain value and exposes WBD shareholders to a protracted multi-jurisdictional regulatory clearance process with an uncertain outcome, along with a complex and volatile, there's that word again, mix of equity and cash. The Paramount's $30 share offer is backed by $40.7 billion in capital from David's daddy there, Larry Ellison over at Oracle, who is the co-founder there, and Redbird Capital Partners, both of which put in money for Skydance Media's $8 billion acquisition of Paramount Global. How's that? $8 billion for Paramount, $808 billion for WB. That tells you the value of both of those companies at the time when these bids are coming through. Now, who is behind this bid besides the $40.7 billion from David's daddy there, Larry Ellison? Well, you've got yourselves the sovereign wealth funds of Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and Abu Dhabi, as well as affinity partners, the investment company formed by who? Jared Kushner. Now, who's Jared Kushner? Well, he's the president's son-in-law. Listen, it's curiouser and curiouser as you go drilling down in the details of these deals on both sides. Now already, and you've got the wealth funds from Saudi Arabia that is run by people who are accused of murdering Washington Post journalist Jamal Khashoggi in a pretty brutal way. Trump dismissed it in such a callous and an offensive way a couple of weeks ago when he was in the White House with the prince there, the Saudi prince. And it is such an interesting situation to have them involved with this. Then you've got Jared Kushner, who got $2 billion from Saudi Arabia. Remember that deal. And then you've got Qatar and Abu Dhabi. I don't know what their whole part in all of this in terms of their money and what they're expecting with all of this. Now, Paramount's offer for WBD as of December 1st included an aggregate $24 billion in financing from the Middle Eastern funds that I just laid out. Variety had previously reported that the three funds were part of the latest bid. Paramount also said its WBD bid will be financed in part by $54 billion in debt commitments from Bank of America, Citi, and Apollo Global Management. Now, let's let you know about something. When this press release was issued this morning from Paramount, they did not have the Saudi Arabian money. They did not have the Abu Dhabi money, the Qatar money. They didn't list Tencent because Tencent was moved. That's the Chinese company removed 2 days ago. But they only listed Bank of America, Citi, and Apollo, and Redbird, and Oracle. So it's real interesting that they waited for the SE filing to come out before we found out, or that they refused. They didn't name the Middle Eastern money, but the SEC filing is the thing that revealed the Middle Eastern money that was behind us. Now, some of you have talked about the Tencent situation that I posted about here, and you have to look at what is involved here with all of this. I'm gonna read my tweet out here. For the people supporting Paramount getting WB, this is who you are getting in bed with, just so we're all clear and on the same page. The U.S. Department of Defense added Tencent to a list of Chinese military companies in 2025, alleging it collects data for the Chinese military and supports its, quote, military civil fusion strategy. That is chilling. That is very chilling to read. That they were even involved at any stage of this process is an unsettling and chilling thing to read when we are so aware and afraid of military presence in our cities. We're seeing what happened with the National Guard, and sadly that one young lady was killed or murdered as a National Guardsman there in D.C. Another the young man was sent to the hospital for those attacks. Unnecessary appearance by our military in all of these cities. And so here you have a people behind Paramount who are involved in this kind of energy here, the Chinese military companies in 2025 that collects data for the Chinese military. Isn't that the TikTok thing everyone was complaining about? The TikTok collects American data. But here we are. People are supporting this situation. And so you could say, oh, they removed themselves 2 days ago. Who gives a shit? The fact that they were part of it from the beginning is super unsettling. And if you really think, I believe, or a lot of people are stupid enough to believe that just because they removed themselves, they wouldn't find a way to still have their money be a part of this, because I guarantee you they weren't tossing $5 into this. It was quite a lot of money they were probably putting into this. They'll find another way to get their money in there because they clearly want to make inroads with Paramount, with Warner Brothers on that side of things. Now, China's a big market. I don't fault Chinese companies wanting to be involved in this situation because, China has made a lot of money globally. They've made a lot of money with their movies. We've made a lot of money, Americans have, with movies going over to China. So we know that China is like the second biggest. I guess maybe it's the third biggest. India might be there. So it's probably India, China, and the United States are the big markets for movies. So I'm not faulting a Chinese company being involved. It's just that this company has a lot of nefarious shit behind it that's unsettling. Then you get, as I said, $24 billion from Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund, and Kushner, who took $2 billion. So these are the people that are involved in all of this, not to mention the Ellisons being massive MAGA people. And we see what Bari Weiss is doing over at CBS, and you go, that's the test case for what might be happening here if Paramount gets all of WB. Now, I see some of my colleagues who I respect and admire, some I actually love. That's a really weird thing, but yes. But I see some of them saying things like, well, I just want people to work, and I want creatives to be able to get their shot at doing these things. There's a bigger picture here. And I see some of you say that as well. And I'm not faulting anybody for that. You believe what you want to believe. But there's a bigger picture here that I think people need to be aware of, and that it's a little more dangerous than you think. Like Netflix, okay, fine. They want to close the theatrical windows a little bit. They want to put movies in theaters for only a little bit of time. I understand that. I'm sure a lot of people are upset about that. We'll address that in a little bit. I'm sure that people don't like that, and I totally get that, right? But I think Netflix has at least more of an entertainment point of view here than, say, the people who are behind this Paramount bid. This is unsettling to see the kind of nefarious characters with really questionable ethics and morality and principles who are involved behind this bid for WB. And so, and I see other people online, certainly people like from the CNBC, from other places. I went back and forth with someone from CNBC earlier today. Like they're all just saying like, oh, Paramount, it's a done deal. It's a shoe-in. Don't worry about it. Well, Trump came out today and said that he has not chosen a side in all of this. Where's that article? I want to make sure. Yeah, Donald Trump, was it rails against? No, that's not it. There's another one. I don't know where. I guess I must have not put that link up here to take a look at. But let me see if I can find that, because I want to read what he said here about the situation and be accurate. Okay, here we go, from the New York Times. So just to give a little background as we lead into this, Ted Sarandos, the co-chief executive of Netflix, made a stealthy visit to the Oval Office in November, chatting with President Trump as his company prepared an audacious bid to buy Warner Brothers and HBO. It went well enough that Mr. Trump was soon praising Mr. Sarandos as, quote, fantastic, and comparing him to the legendary Hollywood mogul Louis B. Mayer. On Sunday night, David Ellison, the chairman of Paramount, which is bidding against Netflix, had his chance to make his case face-to-face because Ellison was spotted in the presidential box with Mr. Trump at the Kennedy Center Honors Ceremony in Washington. Hours later, Ellison unveiled a hostile bid, which I just told you about, to block Netflix's acquisition. But presidents are not supposed to influence the regulators who review major corporate deals. But we know that the president, Trump said this last night, that he is going to decide who gets WB. Like, he literally made it about himself, as he does with everything. But with the future of the news and entertainment industries in the balance, Mr. Trump himself, a film and TV connoisseur, has broken precedent by placing himself directly in the middle of the sale here by saying, quote, I'll be involved in that decision. That's what he said on the red carpet at the Kennedy Center Honors, which ignores the norms that usually go about here with this situation. And he said, this is what he said about Paramount and what he said about Netflix when it came to the WB. This is an actual quote from last night, or today, actually, Monday. Today, he said, none of them are particularly great friends of mine, either Paramount or Netflix. I want to do what's right. It's very important to do what's right. And Mr. Sarandos cautioned that a Netflix win, the president lavished praise on Mr. Sarandos, but also cautioned that a Netflix win could, quote, be a problem. But then, of course, this morning, Trump also went after Paramount, because it's the parent company of CBS, for 60 Minutes, platforming Marjorie Taylor Greene to complain about Donald Trump, to accuse a lot of Republicans who support Trump as people who talk shit about Trump behind his back and only wear the MAGA hat and kiss his ring in order to stay in power as politicians, as representatives or senators. MTG said all of that, said the quiet part out loud, revealed all of that there on 60 Minutes. And now Trump is pissed at Paramount and even tweeted out on Truth Social, since they bought 60 Minutes, it's actually gotten worse, he added in a post here. And he accused the old, the current CBS ownership as being as bad as the old CBS ownership. So you've got that going. So to me, there's a lot of this madness that's going on here, because you have two very important, serious, and powerful men in Ted Sarandos, David Ellison, who are trying to make this happen. And of course, Larry Ellison behind David as well as part of this. And they've got to play to the whims of a guy who accepts phony fake peace medals at FIFA ceremonies without the FIFA board approval, or fake crowns when he goes overseas. Like, this is the kind of thing that is maddening about all of it, is that you can't even be serious about it because you've got to play to the ego of a president who turns on a whim. And what you saw recently, Trump welcoming Mamdani to the White House, he basically threw Andrew Cuomo and Elisa Stefanik under the bus, who had been saying that Mamdani is going to be essentially a despot, a dictator, ruler, and a supporter of domestic terrorism. They said all of that stuff, or inferred all of that stuff, in their commentary about Mamdani. And here he is, Trump is meeting with him, and he's almost like in awe of him. Like, he's almost like a giddy child if you watch those videos, regardless of what MAGA is trying to paint that. We saw it with our own eyes, what he was doing. He was always smiling, and like he was in a whole other place with Mamdani, right? And why is that? Well, I'll tell you, because a lot of people have said this through the years, and I've come to believe it even more so now, and that is Trump loves a winner. He doesn't give a fuck if you believe in his ideology. He doesn't give a fuck if you support him. He likes a winner. And a winner who comes to the White House, a winner who goes and visits him, that's the kind of winner he likes. The fact that Ted Sarandos went to see him in November and understood, look, we're going to make a serious bid about this. I think that's amazing. I think that is such a smart move to try to play to the ego of this president who needs his ego to be played to in order to get his approval. So Paramount pushing this narrative that they've got a slam dunk and get it done, they'll get it done in 12 months, I think is actually wishful thinking, because Trump has made very clear here today. And listen, you take everything Trump says with a grain of salt, but we're going with what he says here, is that he's not a particular friend to either one. And so, and he goes, because Netflix had, they work with the Obamas, and Trump hates the Obamas, and they work with the Obamas. But Netflix also has the WWE. Netflix, which has gone very red state. Triple H was at the White House, acting a fool and blowing water out of his mouth to support. He allegedly took steroids about making America healthy again. And then then they also have the Kill Tony programs on Netflix, and those comics were supporting Trump. Tony Hinchcliffe was at that crazy rally at MSG, saying all those horrible things about Puerto Ricans. And so you see that there's a red state angle to Netflix. So this idea that Netflix is I saw people say woke flicks, morons, and saying all that kind of stuff because they have no idea what's actually on Netflix programming. There's a lot of red state content on Netflix programming if you do the research and go in there. But there's also a lot of diversity in Netflix. And that's one of the reasons that I am in support of the Netflix situation. Now, I get it. The theatrical window stuff is certainly troubling. And certainly today, Ted Sarandos came out to address that and said they are going to adhere to the Warner Brothers model of releasing movies in the theaters and honoring those theatrical windows. He said that. Now, he said yesterday that theatrical windows are evolving, right? He's in support of theatrical windows. And I think that's not a bad thing. And by that, I mean, if a movie's not performing, why are you forcing it to stay in the movie theaters? It doesn't make sense. But you can get more attention for the movie, moving it to streaming 3 weeks after it comes out if nobody's going to go see it. Like The Running Man. If the Running Man was tanking like dog shit after 2 weeks, why would you persist to keep that in 3,000 theaters and pay to keep it in 3,000 theaters and essentially take it as a loss? Why not move it over to the streaming service, have it out there and people will watch it in the hundreds and millions, right? Now, I get it. For some of you who are creators or the people who love creators, it's like, well, they're shortchanged out of residuals or shortchanged. I get that. And that's what I think that's the next hurdle is for creatives to go and work with Netflix. They're going to have to work out deals that are favorable to what they want to do, favorable to what they want to create, and favorable enough to inspire them to create great art on Netflix. And I saw some people shitting on Netflix, and they're absolute dopes. There's a lot of great TV shows and great movies that have been on Netflix that rival any service, and you can rival almost any studio that you're talking about. And remember, 15 years ago, we were getting these fucking discs in sleeves. The fact that they have progressed to this point is absolutely stunning and should be respected. Also, Ted Sarandos comes from a blue-collar background. His dad was an electrician. His mom was a homemaker. This isn't a guy like Ellison who was handed money, or like Trump who was handed money to start his life and spoiled. This is a guy who worked his way up. So he understands the value here, and he understands what the people want. And that's what the greatest thing is about Ted, and that's why he's been able to succeed so quickly, is that he understands the public's tastes. Some people have their finger on the pulse. You could argue Trump has this gift. I mean, I think there's no way he would have got elected twice and lost to Biden, by a few million, if he didn't have his finger on the pulse of what people want. And it may not be the people it may not be the things that we want. It may not be the things that we like, but certainly he was able to capture enough of the mainstream to get him into office twice. And so you look at that with Ted Sarandos. Ted Sarandos is also a populist. He's also a man of the people. He understands, like, hey, listen, I get it. People don't want to go to movie theaters anymore, and they're not. And I'm not talking about some of you who love the 70 millimeter and the IMAX, and there's nothing that replaces a movie theater. You're 100% right. I'm never going to say you're wrong on that, because I agree with you. I'm in that camp with you. However, I'm also in the camp of reality. I'm also in the camp of business. And that is, if you look at the situation here, theaters have been failing because people aren't going in large numbers anymore because it's too expensive to go. And some of you go, well, they should just get AMC A-list, or they should get Regal Cinema. Well, not everybody can do that. Not everybody can afford to do that, right? Are you going to get it for your whole family? So then it's another expense every month that you're paying let's say you have a five people family, right? I can't remember if there's family discounts or whatever, but like that's probably $100 a month to do that every month. There's another expense you're adding on top of what's going on in your world, right? With AMC A-List or Regal. And it's great of them to offer those kinds of things. I'm on the Regal one, although I feel like the AMC list, AMC A-List is better, but I don't like the AMC near where I live, so I don't have that one. I prefer the Regal much more, so I keep with that one. But that's the situation you see going on here. And so less and less people are going. So Ted Sarandos looking at it and saying, well, we get to evolve the theatrical window. It doesn't mean that a movie's going to come out and he's going to be, it's been 3 weeks. Fuck you. I know it's making $100 million a week, but screw it. We're moving it right to Apple or right to Netflix. That's not what I think he's proposing. What I think he's proposing in saying that evolving is that it's a case-by-case basis. We saw that recently with F1 with Apple TV. Apple TV put a movie that they made for their streaming service out into the theaters, just like they did with Napoleon. Napoleon crashed and burned, and they moved that immediately out of the theaters and onto streaming a few weeks later, right? F1 was able to stay out longer in the theaters because it was making money. And so Apple saw the financial logic in leaving it out there. I think Netflix will do the same thing. I think Netflix will see, okay, what have we got here? Where are we going to go with this? How much is it making? Oh, it's making $60 million or $100 million this week, or $80 million, or even $40 million this week. All right, we'll keep it in the theater longer. Oh, it's making $30 million. Okay, we'll keep it in the theater longer. And then there's a threshold where it's like, okay, now it's not making that much. We can move it to streaming. Warner Brothers just did that with Superman. Superman was still in the theaters, but was also on HBO Max. And people were saying, like, why would you do this? It makes no sense. So what happened? The numbers kept stagnant for Superman. They did not drop considerably, and people got to enjoy it at home as well. So this is where we're going. And I get it. I know creatives are going to get crunched. I know it's a shitty situation for creatives right now. But to persist in some desire to hold a gun to the head of movie theaters and to the head of movie studios to put movies out in theaters where people stop going for that movie after the second or third week doesn't make any sense. Why would you keep putting a movie out there for 5 people to show up on a Tuesday at 4:00? It doesn't make sense, right? Not anymore. Not with the kind of money that theaters are charging for movies to be screened in their places. And so to me, I think how can I say, a case-by-case evolving release window, depending on the movie, makes sense. If they get WB, of course they're going to put out the Batman, right? Or they're going to put out Man of Tomorrow. But they're not going to be like, okay, it's 3 weeks, toss it into HBO Max. It'll be much like what you saw with Apple, where they'll let it run for a few months, and then they'll wait a month and a half or 2 months before they put it out on streaming. I think that's actually what they're going to do. Now, with the smaller, the independent, the medium level, the mid-level, the smaller films, I think absolutely a lot of those are going to go to streaming because most people are going to want to sit at home to watch it. I had a debate last night on my Patreon stream, which, by the way, you can join at patreon.com/John Rocha. And I do a hangout with them every Sunday night from 5 to 7, usually 5 to 6:30, but it usually bleeds over into 7. And we were getting into a big debate about whether the audience over the last few years has been trained to go to wait for movies to appear on streaming. Well, I reject the term trained, and I said this in our debate back and forth because training implies a loss of will, like you don't have self-determination, and that is you're somehow removed from making a choice. That's not what happened. What happened was COVID, and I said this on Movie Talks and on Collider Mailbags, that Collider has taken almost everything that I've ever hosted. They've taken off their service because, Frosty's got a bug up his ass about me. And so be it. So I can't prove it. But I certainly said it before. I know I said it before. And some of you who watched those mailbags remember in Movie Talks, remember me saying that that the audiences were dwindling more and more. People were going to the movie theaters less and less. There were a lot of studies that were done there in 2018, 2019 about the lack of attendance for moviegoers, or for movie theaters rather, by moviegoers. And COVID came along and just accelerated what was going to happen, was already going to happen. And that is that the public more and more wants to stay home. And let's be honest, I come from a time where I watched classic movies on television, great movies on television, before I ever watched them in the theaters. I saw The Godfather on a 27-inch television. All right. I saw Lawrence of Arabia on a black and white 20-inch television in the upstairs bedroom of my parents' house when I was 15 years old. Like I was poor. I couldn't afford a color TV at that time. And so I've seen so many films on TV when we were renting VHSs and Blu-rays, DVDs and VHSs. We were watching great movies at home on shitty televisions, not even OLED, flat screen, 77-inch, which is what I have now in the living room. We weren't even having that access to that. We were seeing it on the boob tube, right? Those type of televisions, and we saw them in 4x3. We didn't even see them in 16:9. We saw them in 4x3. Adam Hlaback, correct me if that's the actual, but we were able to see those movies and still appreciate their greatness. So this idea that so many people have nowadays, and especially the younger critics who are like, no, the movie theater experience, it's not like watching it at home. Actually, for a lot of the medium level and smaller independent films, it is okay to like watching at home. And it is okay to watch it at home because the stereo systems, the TVs themselves, they've gotten so much better. You can really appreciate the 4K versions of these movies that they have available on digital to watch at home or on 4K. You can buy the 4K. It's extraordinary. If you get a good television, LG OLEDs, there were some great deals on them on Black Friday. You will see an amazing experience at home. And home theater systems have been around for so long. They're just now much more affordable for regular people to buy and have. And so you can see those movies at home. And that's why people are staying home. They weren't trained. They want this. And Ted Sarandos knows this, which is why Netflix has blown up and become such a massive force in the world, because Ted knew this is what the public were telling him, this is what we want. If the public was like, no, we're not going to see this shit until you put it in a theater, then studios would have adapted and be like, no, we need to extend theatrical windows because people want to see this in a theater. But but the public nowadays does not. They're quite happy to stay home. They want to stay home. They don't want to pay that much. They don't deal with the traffic, deal with the parking, and deal with the assholes who go to movie theaters now, especially the young people sometimes, who are talking through the whole movie. They act like they're sitting in their living room with their feet up on the fucking chairs, chomping loudly, talking to themselves, taking selfies, playing on their game, sometimes with the sound on during a movie. You see that happen with young people. I've been in a theater where young people were running from one set of seats to another in some stupid fucking game they made up in their heads. And so you see that. And people don't want to experience that anymore because the joy of going to a movie theater gets lost if you get one asshole or a bunch of assholes in there. You just lose the experience, And so I think that's the thing that's happening more and more is people are wanting to stay home. And I see some people online, of course, lamenting the loss of the communal experience. There is nothing you can do to make that come back anymore. Nothing. They're not. People like being home. People like the comfort of being home. Are there still extroverts who want to run out and be surrounded by everybody and experience things in a visceral way in a crowd, in a game, and at a concert or at a movie theater? 100%. Of course, you all are allowed to do that. But I think to persist in some stubborn, obstinate way that somehow it's all these outside forces that are convincing people to stay home, you're out of your mind. People do what they want to do. This is America. People have free will. And if they want to stay home to watch a TV show or a movie, guess what? They're going to fucking stay home to watch a TV show or a movie, and they don't give a shit that you're out here yelling at them to go to a movie theater. They're not going to go. They don't want to go. It doesn't mean that the movie theater should go away. I see some people going. Some people said to me over the last few days, like, "You're advocating for the death of movie theaters." No, I'm not. I'm advocating for the truth, for people to accept the truth, and that movie going patterns are changing, and to persist in this obstinate stubbornness that they're to be like la 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 la. You're just hurting yourself. You know what I'm saying? And so what I said on those movie talks, what I said on those mailbags is that eventually the movie going experience will be more expensive because it'll be like Broadway. To go see a play, you got to pay $150. Why? Because you're getting stars who are going to come out on stage and perform for you live, and you're there in the theater watching it live, having a communal experience watching these great stars. And so I think what I had said back in 2019, 2018 was that theaters were going to have to offer better options for people to see movies, higher end options. So like at the time, the iPick was a big deal in Pasadena, and at the time that was leather recliner chairs. They brought you a blanket, they brought you food sometimes. It was amazing. And so that kind of experience is now much more common in some of the cities around the country and around the world, probably, in experiencing movies. So that's another way to elevate the experience. IMAX, elevate the experience. 70 millimeter, elevate the experience. VistaVision, elevate the experience, right? I even went to see F1 at a screening at, I think, Westfield UTC here in San Diego. They had seat warmers. I could warm my back or air condition my back while I watched the movie. Now that I'll fucking pay extra for. And so I think that's what's going to happen, is that more and more it's going to be the event films that are at the theaters, and the smaller, more independent films, they might get a 1 or 2 week or even a 3 week run depending on their box office. But then they're going to go right to streaming for people to enjoy and watch. And yes, it means that creatives are going to get crunched. They're going to make less money. The residuals aren't going to be there. Netflix is going to pay up front, or Paramount is going to pay up front, or WB is going to pay up front. And that's unfortunately for creators the way it's going. But what are you going to do? Are you going to force the public to do this? And I see people say, oh, you can retrain them to wait for the movie. No, they won't. There's a million fucking things for people to watch today from a million fucking channels. The last thing they're going to be like is, oh, I can't see that film. Studio, please show it in the movies. I'm not going to do that. They're going to move on to the next content. They're going to move on to the next thing. There's so much great content from all these streaming services that are out there that of high quality with great actors in them and great directors behind them, that it's not a viable plan to all of a sudden studios go en masse, which is, by the way, collusion, to be like, well, we're not going to show these movies. We're not going to put them on streaming for 6 months. You got to come to the theater. Suck it. Guess what? People aren't going to come. People are like, fuck you. I'll wait out 6 months. What's 6 months? I'll watch other shit for 6 months until that movie comes out. That's what's going to happen. And then you'll lose money in the movie theaters anyway. And I'm not saying movie theaters should go away. I don't think they should go away. I love going to a movie theater. It's amazing. Still, one of the greatest nights of my life or days of my life have been in a movie theater with people. But I also understand the reality and that things are changing, and that there will be less movie theaters because there's less demand for them. We are a capitalist society. We are a supply and demand society. If the demand decreases, the supply is going to decrease. That's how it works. So and I see some people who get upset at the tech bros and the CEOs of these companies. They're not the only ones involved in this. It's also movie-going audiences. And, I've been writing some of these movie-going audiences a little hard the last few months because people need to take responsibility. People need to see what's going on out there and stop thinking that they are untouchable in their approach to movies and they don't ever insult the moviegoers or don't ever call out the moviegoers. Fuck off, man. We're all able to be called out, just like those CEOs and those executives are able to be called out. So are moviegoers, right? And if moviegoers aren't going, then they're not going to keep putting movies in movie theaters. That's just how it works. If a team keeps being shitty every year and people stop showing up, that team is going to move or sell to a new owner that's going to try to revive its fortunes. But if it doesn't, they're going to move. That's happened with a number of teams over the years and in numerous sports leagues. And so that's the thing at the end of the day, right? What happened with Zack Snyder's situation? Zack Snyder the movies didn't make the money that WB was hoping they were going to make, and they moved Snyder out. If you don't make money, people are going to move you out. That's the game. And so when I look at all of this, my heart breaks for the creatives who are out there trying to pursue their dreams to be filmmakers and all of that. But some people have gone on this thing of like, well, you're removing the ability of creators to create. No. If you really want to be a creator, you'll figure it the fuck out. And by that, I mean, you'll figure out where to put your stuff. You'll figure out how to put your stuff. It's supposed to be difficult. It's supposed to be hard. It's not supposed to be doors open, come on in and do everything you want to do. No, you got to earn, in my opinion, you got to earn your spots. You got to take the lumps. You got to take the hits. to get to where you want to get to. And yes, some people will make it and some people don't. I didn't have the strength to keep doing it as an actor. It was after 20 years of not being able to accomplish things I wanted to accomplish, I realized it wasn't for me. I saw myself up on the screen in a movie and I was like, you know what? Maybe I don't belong there anymore. And I'm okay. Let's figure out what I'm going to do next. It actually was peaceful for me. Now, I'm not saying people need to give up, but I'm just saying you all have a right to pursue what you want to pursue. But to think all the doors should be open for you and you shouldn't have to struggle to achieve it, you're out of your mind. And look, some of you won't. Some of you will find the right mixture of luck and talent and you'll get through that door. But most people have to struggle and suffer. And look at Rhea Seehorn, who has been acting since the 1980s or early 90s, I think. And she just now, from Better Call Saul and Pluribus, she is now becoming a household name, got nominated for a Golden Globe or Critics' Choice, I think it was. But that's how it goes, you know? And so my heart breaks for the creatives that are going to lose out on residuals, lose out on money. My heart breaks for the unions. And I saw the Teamsters Union came out today to try to log their protest about the merger with WB and Netflix. And I totally respect that. People are going to lose jobs. People are going to lose money. I get it. Even though Warner Brothers is saying that they're not going to lay off anywhere near the number. Sorry, Netflix is saying that they're not going to lay off near the number of Warner Brothers employees that Paramount will. Who can say? Who knows how it's all going to go down? But I know that there's going to be consequences to the situation. But the situation is not is unstoppable. What are you going to force Warner Brothers to be independent and sit there like no, make your movies, no, make your TV shows? It's America, man. If they want to sell, they should be allowed to sell. It's as simple as that. I get the antitrust lawsuits. I get Elizabeth Warren, who now played both sides because she came out against Paramount getting WB today after coming out against Netflix the day before, or on Friday, which is what Jeff and I said on the hot mic that she was, or on Thursday, I guess she said, Jeff and I said on the hot mic that she was going to play both sides. Oh, no, was it Monday? No. When was it? It was Friday, because we did that emergency episode. And so, you know, that's the thing that you see happening now. And it's going to be, and it's not bipartisan. I think Christian said that this morning. I respect Christian, of course, greatly, but it's not bipartisan. It's bipartisan against Netflix getting WB. No, it's bipartisan all around. The only really bipartisan thing is that a majority of the people, whether Republicans or Democrats, don't want WB to sell. That's the one thing that is absolutely bipartisan support, is they don't want WB to sell. But in the end, Zaslav was brought in to sell WB. And it was David Ellison who launched this audacious bid, thinking that instead of taking his time, like a guy, you know, who can't seem to keep it in his pants, he had to go. I got to get Paramount. Now I got to go to Warner Brothers. Instead of let's sit for a little bit with Paramount. Let's build up Paramount, and let's see what we got. No, there was the opportunity to go get Warner Brothers and CNN, and we could push our MAGA ideology on CNN. We could skew the movies to push our MAGA ideology in their characters and in their storylines and all of that. And that's what, to me, I think that is what is one of the reasons behind their desire to buy all of it, is they want to control Hollywood and push the right-wing red state message through the content that they're going to pump out. That's what I think is a massive part of this whole situation. Whereas Netflix is a bit more in the middle, having red state and blue state content. Netflix has some of the most diverse content. They don't bow to the people who are anti-woke. They tell them to fuck off, and they do what they want to do with their content. And they make it as diverse as they want to make it. Gay shows, foreign shows, shows from countries where Americans are supposed to not like stuff from those countries. Those are all here on Netflix. There is so much to see movie-wise or TV-wise from all over the world. And there's a lot of diversity. Spanish shows, Latino-led shows, Black-led shows, white-led shows, women-led shows, women of color-led shows, men of color-led shows. There are all kinds of shows like that all over Netflix. But there's also red state content. So when David Ellison is out there on CNBC this morning going like, well, we're here for the middle. We want to talk to the 70% of the middle people. You're lying through your teeth, man. We know you're a MAGA guy. We know you want to go the red state route. We know that's why you want CNN to control the narrative, just like Bari Weiss is doing at CBS, which is disgusting and corrupt as fuck. We know that's what you want to do. So don't come out here and try to tell us that you're trying to take care of the middle. Netflix is the middle. Paramount under Ellison is not the middle. You know, CBS is not the middle. What they're doing is not the middle. And so this is the thing where you see what's going on, hosting a town hall with the wife of the sadly assassinated Charlie Kirk. That's not the middle. That's definitely leaning towards the red MAGA playing to that base. And so this is where the difference lies. And that's why I support Netflix getting WB. If anyone's going to get WB, right? I support Netflix getting WB. I don't think Universal. I think Universal would fumble the ball. That's why I'm not behind the Comcast situation. But Netflix makes more sense, And I think people need to give it a shot, and I think people need to be patient to see what they do. Because so many people think they know what Ted Sarandos is going to do based on past comments. The man is running a business that promotes streaming. What is he going to say? Like, oh, yeah, I know we do streaming content, but I wish we did movies. Movies are great. You know what? Don't come subscribe to us. Go see movies. That's not what he's going to fucking do. His job is to promote Netflix and promote streaming and promote people subscribing to Netflix by saying it's a better experience than going to movies. By saying that certain movies, if they showed on Netflix, would be just as big as they were in the theaters. That's all talk, business talk, to get people to sign up to Netflix. He doesn't really believe some of the stuff he says. This is all just stuff he's saying to get people to subscribe to Netflix. That's his job as the CEO of Netflix. He's not going to say, well, it's cool to see movies on my service, but no, you should really go to the movie theaters. Like, he's not going to do that. That doesn't make sense business-wise. And I'm sure the board and the people who support Netflix in terms of the money they put into Netflix would not appreciate him promoting something else other than Netflix that people could spend their money on. That's business. And so I see people like taking his comments and going like, fuck this guy. And it's like, that's his job. It's no different. It's just like some of you influencers who are out there, like, you're promoting certain things because you've been paid to promote certain things. You may not actually believe 3/4 of the shit you're saying, but that check cleared, so you got to say it. It's no difference, So I think that's the situation that people don't seem to understand about Netflix. He's saying these things because that was his job to say those things. And now he's saying different things because he wants this sale to go through with WB. And he's saying, I'm going to keep movies in theaters. I'm going to have theatrical windows. And people are like, oh, I don't believe him because of stuff he said in the past. Well, stuff he said in the past was to support the fact that he was in charge of a streaming service and wanted to get as many people as possible to subscribe. And guess what? It fucking worked. They're a kaiju in the streaming business compared to all these little sons of Godzillas that are hanging out on Monster Island that don't compare to Netflix. So you're going to argue with his tactics? You're going to argue with his ideology? You're going to argue with his approach to things when he's been this successful? Doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense to me. All right, I think I've been talking for a whole hour. Thank you to everybody who's been in here dealing with me talking for a while. We got 200 of you all hanging out with us. Gorlak says, what do you say? So I messaged him. How come South Park is a lot on Paramount, though? I'll tell you why. Because they make millions of dollars for Paramount. So Paramount plugs their nose and does the deal with them. That's why. If South Park started losing numbers or started losing money, I guarantee you Paramount would axe that show immediately, right? And that's the situation there with South Park. And listen, that's business. That's Hollywood business. You can have any kind of point of view you want, and if you make money, you're going to find a home. Even if those people at the home you found yourself in don't support you ideologically or politically, you're going to be able to stay around because you make money for them. That's how it works, Exactly. Show me the money. Yeah, and South Park gets the free pass because of that, for sure. But I mean, if you were to put The Acolyte on Paramount, I guarantee you, after the first 2 or 3 episodes, I wouldn't have been surprised if Paramount had canceled and not even aired the rest of the episode. So, these are the things. You can have whatever point of view you want, but if you don't make money, they're not going to keep supporting you or putting you on their airwaves. That's just how it works, So there you go. All right, let's see here. What have we got? We got some super chats that have come through. I don't know if any Streamlabs have come through. I got a few of those. So let's hit some of those before we move on to the Golden Globes and Critics' Choice stuff. Let's see here. Dennis Hoffman. Thank you, Dennis. I love the new cut, Dennis. The new haircut. Yes, love the truth, John. Keep it coming. Thank you, Dennis. I appreciate that. I will. Jay Scotty for real. Have you seen Rental Family? I did. Oh, heartbreaking. I'm going to do a run of reviews over the next few days. I'm going to stack them like 3 or 4 on one video because I want to get a lot of reviews out there for the stuff that is being nominated before it moves itself off the Critics' Choice app. Because I want to rewatch a lot of these movies and do reviews from there. It made me cry a few times, but in a good way. Definitely more my speed than The Whale. Well, that's fair. I respect that. Certainly, yeah. It's much more uplifting than The Whale, even though The Whale is, to me, I loved The Whale. And I thought it was beautiful and glorious, especially someone like me who struggled with his weight a majority of his life. I really found myself falling in love with that movie. But I know Rental Family was devastating and gorgeous. And I understand that. And much more uplifting. And I understand that as well. John Wallace, 4559, says, "You are my escape tonight. My wife is watching the Eagles game now, and if I even breathe near her, I'm kicked out of the room." Hey, respect, John, respect. I was born in Philly, but I'm not an Eagles fan because I was raised in Virginia, so I became a Washington football fan. And so I hear you. I know what it's like to be around. I have a bunch of friends who are Eagles fans here there in LA. And I've watched games with them, and it is always a tense atmosphere, even amongst friends. So I can't even imagine being with your partner, who is a massive Eagles fan and is temperamental if you say anything wrong. Dennis Hoffman says, "Not a fan of this deal, but understand for WB. Does this motivate Sony or Universal to try to fill the assumed WB theater hole? Also, does Netflix even promote movies? WB are tops." Well, that's a fair point, I think, with the last line there. Netflix is not really known for spending a lot of money promoting their movies. I think that'll change if the Netflix WB thing gets approved, which is probably not another 12 months, not for another 12 months. And of course, we still got the split coming in 2026, where the TV side's on one side, the movie side's on the other. But I think that's the situation when you look at it, is that you have to accept the fact that Netflix doesn't do a lot of promotion. So I think that would have to change for sure. I think Netflix would have to make some changes and be able to put that in motion a lot better. We'll see if that actually goes down. And what you said there about Sony Universal trying to fill the assumed WB theater hole, that's exactly what will happen. And that happens all the time in Hollywood. As soon as a void pops up in Hollywood, a company or a studio or a creative or a production comes in to fill that void. And I've seen that happen numerous times over the years, for decades, in the years of Hollywood. It is rare that a void pops up and remains a void in Hollywood. A24 is coming on strong. They've taken in more money to try to go after bigger films, and that's a possibility that could fill the void. Focus Features, and then also Prime Video is now trying to do more. Right? They got James Bond. They got these IPs. They're going to fill this. So there's a lot that's going on here that is going to fill the void of a Netflix WB merger. And listen, let's tell the truth. 2 years ago, if it was Netflix buying WB, first of all, it would be for way less. And second of all, people might be on board with it because it would mean that Netflix would be putting an infusion of cash into WB and helping WB grow and get better or save WB from bankruptcy, because they were not doing well. And so you see that. So it's amazing how 2 years make a difference. 2 years, especially over the last 12 months, the string of hits that WB has had, that has changed the narrative about the situation. So, yeah. Fredtastic says, "I see in the near future, if the bid goes overwritten to Paramount, they will ask for a government bailout because they're, quote, too big to fail." I would not be surprised. I'm just curious, the Kushner side of all of this. I'm curious, like, is Trump playing both sides and in the end he's going to go with Paramount? Or does he really mean that both sides have been not great to him? So, it's going to be who's going to curry favor more with him. I wonder what the situation is, because is this all just appearances? And then in the end, he's going to go with Paramount because of Kushner's son-in-law being involved? Or is Kushner being involved here because, he's got the money to spend? Could be an interesting way to go down. And it's all business. And, Trump's about the business, right? And yes, he plays favorites. Yes, he puts his fingers on the scale. But he is about business, and he respects business. So just because Kushner wants to make the deal doesn't mean Trump will do it necessarily. Look how he's treated his kids in the past. When they've tried to go toe-to-toe with him, he steps on them and crushes them. It's exactly what, if you watch that Vince McMahon documentary, he did to Shane. And a little bit to Stephanie. These guys don't have the same kind of connection that a Norman Rockwell father and son or parent and child have. They are much more ruthless. and they're more willing to step on their families' faces if they don't come correct. And it doesn't guarantee that they'll go with their family. So, because what does he want? Kushner to get even more power and somehow rival him for attention in the family? I don't think Trump would deal with that at all. Well, at all. Alan Smithy, don't worry, I'm keeping 35 millimeter projection alive. I know you are, Smithy. I appreciate you doing that. It's very kind of you. I know you're amazing in that department. Dat Boy, thank you, Dat Boy, for the super sticker. Appreciate it, brother. Simon Section 1170 says, I'm with you, John. I remember watching classic movies on videotape at the library in my college, such as On the Waterfront, Godfather 2, Once Upon a Time in America, The Truth. I agree with you, bro. I did the same thing. I worked at a TV station in Charlottesville, Virginia, WNBC 29 in Charlottesville, Virginia. I was the overnight master control operator. What does that mean? Well, it means I put the commercials in. Back in the old days, you couldn't digitally program them to come in. You had to take the tapes, you had to put them in on time and hit the button to run right at the commercial break when infomercial or whatever old show was showing at 3 a.m. That's what I would do. I did that for a year, working overnight, 4 nights a week, 10 hours a shift. It was the most insane experience I've ever had, because I am not an overnight person. I am a night owl and I am an early morning riser. I only need 5 or 6 hours of sleep to exist, to function in a 24-hour day. But even I was getting pushed to the limit working overnight. To stay awake, I had to bring a 2-liter bottle of cola and a bag of jelly beans. And that's what my sugar intake was for a majority of the nights. Now, at the time, I was still running and working out, and lifting weights, so I could burn all that shit off. But like, I was doing that to stay awake, stay alive. I think it was in my late 20s. I did that for a year at Charlottesville. Lived with Maurice, my best friend there, and I would go over to the library at UVA, Charlottesville, Virginia, UVA, and I would sit there and rent movies on my days off and just watch movies all day. I had a friend of mine who had just graduated film school at that TV station, and he was very kind, because I'd never went to film school. I studied film later at Florida State, but he was very kind to curate a list of great films for me to watch. And sometimes it was themes, sometimes it was directors, sometimes it was actors. And I saw Luis Buñuel movies, Kurosawa movies, Fellini movies, Antonio Nini movies. And then I also saw a lot of movies from foreign countries that were about a certain theme or certain approach. And then I would go through the AFI list and watch movies from the AFI list there. Some of them on Laserdisc. That's how old I am. Some of them on Blu-ray. Some of them on DVD. And guess what? If the movie was good, it still got me sitting in a wooden cubicle next to a bunch of other cubicles in an uncomfortable chair with headphones on. So a movie is good. If a movie is good, it doesn't matter where you show it. People will enjoy it. People watch movies on the plane and become utter emotional messes because the movie is good. This idea that it needs to be on a 70 millimeter screen for you to really appreciate a great movie, I think is utter nonsense. It's a way to add to your appreciation, but you can appreciate a movie watching it on a fucking airport seat monitor. So to me, that's the way I look at things. I've had too much experience of enjoying great movies on small screens. Arax96 says, America's in decline. Modern conservatives still unhappy after winning are unreasonable. They criticize messages in the films, yet push a conservative message themselves. Thanks, John, for speaking out. Oh, yeah, bro. The hypocrisy from the right side of things, from the anti-woke fuckers, is hilarious. These are the same people that go like, well, bring back the white people. I want white people in charge at the lead of white people need to be the lead of everything. Or they hide behind this bullshit. Just tell me a good story. Just make sure a white person is the lead. But tell me a good story. Nonsense. Fucking nonsense. Because guess what? There are a lot of shitty movies and TV shows led by white people, and yet they keep getting opportunities. One black person or a couple of black people have bad TV shows. Man, we don't need to have woke shit. This is woke shit. It's like, what the fuck, man? So unfortunately, because white people are the majority in entertainment, white people are the majority of the country, this is the kind of thing you encounter, that white people are allowed to fail at larger numbers than people of color or women of color or women or men of color or LGBTQ plus people or people with disabilities. Those people have to come correct. They have to bring it every time. It better be amazing. You know, remember what happened in X-Men 97? All those anti-woke fuckers like spider monkeys in a zoo were on top of each other throwing shit at the wall, going like, they made Chameleon a transsexual. God damn it, what the hell? He likes both men and women? What the fuck? The Wolverine ain't gay. That ain't my Wolverine, god damn it. And all this shit. And why is it Storm? Or why is it all this crybaby shit? Then X-Men 97 comes out and kicks them in the fucking nuts with its greatness and shuts them the fuck up. And that's what happens. Right? If you unfortunately, you have to bring it at that level to shut those voices up, at least about your project, because they're going to move on to another project and start crying and complaining because they got to grift. They got to make their money. They got to concoct shit they're offended about, just like MAGA does, so they can make their money. So, you know, I give 2 cents about what they think. But yes, the hypocrisy there is always just stunning to witness, right? Just like watching Laura Ingraham. LeBron, shut up and dribble. Aaron Rodgers supports MAGA. Aaron Rodgers is a great man. He should keep speaking out on stuff. It's the hypocrisy of it all, right? I saw Kennedy, MTV VJ Kennedy on Fox News being hypocritical as fuck with her points of views. No matter how big her glasses are, she can't seem to see what the fuck she's actually, what the shit that she's shoveling out there. Fred Tastic says, play this kaiju metaphor. Which streamer is play this kaiju metaphor. Which streamer is Gamera? Prime Video? I would say Prime Video's Gamera. Yeah. Like MGM Plus is like Son of Godzilla. It's like the little guy blowing the holes. But yeah, I think Gamera is probably Prime Video because King Kong is probably Disney, right? Or Apple? Well, Apple's more like Rodan, right? Apple's more like that. They're going to show up when they want to show up. They're bringing 2. No, wait, who's that? Yeah. I think that's what it would be. I think that's the correct thing. But somebody correct me on that if you think it's different. KJ747, it's good to see you, buddy. 7457. It's a fact that fans are going to the movies less. Can you name some of your worst movie theater experiences? Well, can you be specific? Like in terms of getting into it with people, I've had that happen a few times. I mean, you know, I am the outlaw. I never instigate. I just have one of those energies that people sometimes take things in a certain way. Like I remember, here, I'm going to take a drink because I've been talking straight for an hour. I remember years ago when I went to see the some of you have heard this story. I don't know if some of you have heard this story. Hold on, let me pull my nose too. Some of you heard this story, but years ago when I went to see The Great and Powerful Oz with James Franco, I went with an old friend of mine, Edgar, and who we're not friends anymore, but we were friends at the time, and with my girlfriend at the time. Her name was Jamie Jean. And we were going to see the movie. We had gone in early and got middle seats in a row. And I went to go get Reese's Pieces. And when I came back, this guy was trying to force Edgar and Jamie Jean to move down 3 seats so that him and his family could come and sit there in the middle. And I'm like, no, bro, we got here first. We're going to keep the middle. You can move to the left or right, but we're going to keep the middle. And he got all upset. And I think this was a husband trying to like show off for his wife or his child or whatever. And I was like, listen, pal, we got here first. We have a right to stay here if we don't want to move. At the time, I liked sitting in the middle. I was young. I didn't have to piss so much. So I didn't mind sitting in the middle. So I wanted to sit in the middle because to me, I was such a movie snob that to me, that was the only way to truly see the movie is to sit in the middle and have the movie played out for you. Exactly in the middle. I mean, I was so anal that I would like measure out where I sat. And some of you are like this, so don't laugh at me. Some of you are like, so I would have to visit. So when I sat in the middle, I knew exactly what I was doing. So I got into it with the guy got upset. His wife got involved. It got verbal and it almost got physical. And of course, both my girlfriend at the time and my friend at the time were like sinking into their chairs because they were embarrassed by it. And you know, rightfully so. But to me, it was important at the time. And so I was like, you came in late. You don't get to dictate where you sit. You and so that can happen sometimes. But worst movie going theater experiences, yeah, I've had, as I said, I had those kids running around in the theater. I sat next to a influencer couple at a Gladiator 2 screening in San Diego. It was packed. I was in the middle seats in the press row. These people were press. These two 20-year-olds were press in their fucking juicy sweatpants. And the guy was talking all through the movie because the girl hadn't seen Gladiator. And he was like giving her all the information loudly. And I was going insane. And then he went out twice to go get them food from the refreshment stand. The second time, he brought ices, and they drank their ices. And as they got to the end of their ices, they were doing that slurping thing loudly 2 or 3 times after they drank all the ice. So it was like that loud ass noise. And finally, one of the movie critics, my fellow movie critics, leaned over and was like, guys, can you keep it down a little bit? And the dude's like, keep it down. Why don't you tell me to keep it down? I'll meet you outside the theater. We'll see how much I can keep it down. And I was like, really? This is what we're fucking doing? So as soon as he said that, I got up and walked out. And you know why? Because I was this close to going like, let's you and I go fucking outside right now. Because it was just I was so upset. But I don't want to get into a physical confrontation with somebody because assault, battery charge, go to jail. It's not over a fucking movie. It doesn't make sense. So to me, I was like, I'm not enjoying the experience. I'm gonna go see it in the movie theater by myself then, and I left, right? And I went and saw it the next day. Did an out of theater reaction because they had a second screening for it. But he was just like it was so insane to me how disrespectful he was in the movie theater. When I went to see Ferrari, I had an old man snoring through the whole movie. The whole fucking movie, he snored. People tried to wake him up 3 or 4 times, went right back to sleep. Yeah, it's America. He paid for his ticket. He's got a right to sit there and fall asleep if he wants. We just have to deal with it. This is the kind of madness that you deal with sometimes when you go to movie theaters with people. They have no respect, you know? So that's some of the worst movie theater experiences. Some of them. I've got more. Trust me, I've got more. Because I've gone to the movie so many times, I'm bound to have like some insane movie theater experiences. And that's certainly a few of them. Fred Tex says, Platus was supposed to be great. Autocorrect. Oh, great kaiju metaphor. Oh, thank you. Which streamers can wear? Okay, so that's what you're trying to say. Thank you, Fred. Appreciate that a lot. Let's see. Let me get to these Streamlabs, and then we'll move on to other business. I am Two Fly Cams. His thoughts on Nick Fuentes growing in popularity. It seems the right is openly racist and embracing Nazis now. Pierce Morgan had him on, and this kid ran circles around him for 2 hours. Dangerous days ahead. This nut job is modern day Republicans now. Thanks. Yeah, I mean, I don't watch too much of Nick's stuff. I've seen him in clips on TikTok. And yes, you're right. He can run rings around people. Smart kid, whether you like his message or not, and certainly I do not. The kid is smart. And he knows how to play this game, and he knows how to appeal to the younger generation and their DJAF attitude about everything. They don't worry about anything for the most part. What I experience from younger people is nothing's a big deal, and nothing's a small deal. It's all just kind of the same. And it's a fascinating thing. It's a fascinating attitude because, like, for the last few generations, we have started to explode or expose the fallacy of the American dream, right? Started in the kind of 50s and 60s. The 70s were the protest against systemic racism and systemic sexism. The 80s were this respite where people were caught up in, money and excess. We, for the first time in the country in a long time, had money, and people were buying things and selling things, and they were just going for the wealth, the yuppie culture, right? And then the 90s came around. You had a gangster culture, gangster rap. You had all this kind of the harder edge stuff, right? And with the professional wrestling, the Attitude Era, this idea of the gray. How can I say this? The protagonist that was a grayer protagonist, not black or white, gray. So it had some darker tendencies, but always trying to do good, but use some dark nefarious tactics to achieve its goodness, right? In the 2000s, we had a kind of a time we were progressing to a place where we were embracing sexuality a bit more and being open with that and embracing that and having pride in that and talking about that and trying to remove the kink and the shame of that. And of course, the LGBTQ plus culture becomes big in the 2000s. And so it's about like diversity and openness and all this kind of stuff. But for the last 15 years, that has changed, where now the new generation is much more prudish. They don't want to see nudity on screen. They're not as sexually motivated. And as a retort to that, the older generation is now like coming after the younger generation, because they're the ones who are like, give me back my nudity, give me back my this, give me back my sex and all this kind of stuff. And so what you see now is the younger generations are in a different place about everything. And they have gone even further into looking at the hypocrisy and the fallacy of the American dream and the American society. Nick Fuentes, in a way, represents that from the right side point of view, from the right point of view. Because to him, even Donald Trump is fodder for what, I mean, he's been going after Trump. If you've seen some of those clips, he's going after Trump like, because he doesn't care. He's going to go after where he's going to go after, no matter what. And people have doxed him. People have come after him. People put his addresses online. He doesn't care. He keeps going. And he's growing in power, because what people respect is a DGAF attitude 24/7. And people like that. People gravitate to that. People see power in that, right? Just like the old generation sees power in Trump just being like, fuck everything and I'm going to do what I want. The younger generation sees power in DGAF, which is that kind of thing of like, nothing's a big deal. It's all cool. And they're going to do what they want to do. And, oh, you want me to wear a tie? Fuck yeah, I'm not wearing a tie. Why do I got to wear a tie? I got to wear a tie to play some kind of game with you, because if society says, I don't give a shit. And so you see that. That's what's going on. Fuentes represents that. You know, even the way he dresses, even though he wears a suit jacket, it's like a suit jacket that's too big for him. Right? It's that kind of subtle commentary about the expectations of society. It's his way of thumbing his nose at the expectations of society. And he has made a massive market out of that, you know? And so, I actually do not like, obviously, because he's a white supremacist. I'm not a fan of the dialogue, but I also objectively can't deny the fact that he has found a niche, and he has found a lot of people to follow him into that niche. Samuel says, thoughts on this year's college football playoff, and who do you think will win this year? I thought the people that got in were supposed to get in. I think the drumbeat for Notre Dame to join a conference, I think this is the biggest indicator that they need to join a conference, because dancing outside the conference as if you're better than everybody else, that does eventually catch up to you if your record is a bit shaky. And in the end, the record was a bit shaky, so I don't mind. And I love that Tulane and James Madison got in, especially because my best friend is a graduate of James Madison. And so I'm excited to see what they can do. Who knows? James Madison, if they pull the upset in Oregon, who knows what could happen? I mean, you've got a Ole Miss team without Lane Kiffin as the coach. You have some shaky teams in there, defensively or offensively. So anything can happen. Upsets are going to be the norm in this particular college football playoff. I think in the end, Ohio State is too strong to be denied, but Georgia is coming on. And if Georgia has figured their shit out, Georgia-Ohio State is an exciting final. But so is Indiana. I still don't 100% trust Indiana, but they can run the table and win this whole thing, and they will be one of the biggest powerhouses of the last 20 years if they run the table, because they are pounding people. They kick the shit out. I know they beat Ohio State, but they really manhandled Ohio State for the majority of that game. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how it all goes down. Fred Taz says, thank you, Jay Rocha, for speaking the truth. The more I think about the Netflix purchase, the more I'm okay with it. Watching the box office results won't be a big deal, because Netflix movie releases aren't tracked, because it's not crucial to the revenue model. That's for sure. That's for sure. It's 100% for sure, brother man. So we will see how that all goes down. But yeah, I appreciate you coming, kind of seeing it from my side. You don't have to agree with me, but I'm just trying to convey a point of view about this whole situation that isn't necessarily the doom and gloom Chicken Little point of view you've seen from some of my colleagues online, and some of the people like Josh over at Den of Nerds who are like swinging from Paramount's dick about having them get WB. It's not a given in any way, shape, or form. Let's see here. Oh, Doug, what's up, Doug? Good to see you, man. He says, hey, Rocha, what year do you think those anti-woke YouTube channels became more mainstream? I felt it was in 2015 when Trump came into the political scene. Do you think they'll fade away after Trump passes? Well, I think, yes, possibly maybe it was 2015. I think it was a little bit, I think it was 2017, 2018 when I started to really see that was a big deal. Because being especially, well, maybe even after that, because it wasn't until after, it was like 2021, 2022 that I really saw some people change, and I wasn't even aware of some of those channels until I started going out on my own. When certain people came after me, I was like, who the fuck are these people? Like, I had no idea who they were. And then I looked it up and I was like, oh, wow, they got a big following. What is their content? Oh, it's a lot of hateful shit. I was like, well, I guess that sells, but I certainly didn't know it was. So I think it started growing in about 2017, 2018. And then 2022, 23 is when it really kind of just hit its peak. I think there's less of them now, or at least I don't see them as much now, because the market is saturated with the same kind of channels, just spewing the same kind of stuff, saying the same kind of things. And I truly believe that people only have so much room in their heart for hate and watching hate, and they're not going to go to like 40 different channels, most of them, to see the same message over and over again about the woke mind virus and all of that nonsense. Do you think they'll fade away after Trump passes? I don't know, to be honest with you. I think the only thing that fades away legitimately when Trump passes is the MAGA movement. And I think we've seen this in a number of elections now recently. Like, if Trump isn't on the ballot, MAGA Republicans don't win usually. And so that tells you that's the power of personality. And I think no one has the power to step in after Trump that has that same kind of personality. Not J.D. Vance, not Kristi Noem, not fucking Hegseth. None of those guys have the Trump personality. And so it's a one of one. And when he goes, I think that's when that movement fractures. We're already seeing it fracture. Today, one of the reporters who covers The Hill said that 20 Republicans are going to retire this week. 20. That is an absolute shot at the leadership of the Republican Party, and that's MAGA and Trump. MTG was the beginning, but you're going to see more. Anna Paulina Luna is starting now to speak out against him. Valentina Gomez, who was that nutty racist down in Texas, Trump didn't support her, so now she's talking shit about Trump on her video. So it's like, this is what you're going to get, is they're going to eventually eat each other. That's what hate does. No matter what they say about they're for America, no, it's hate that they're spewing, and hate must be fed constantly. And so you have to keep creating things. Oh, now it's the Somali immigrants, and now it's this, and now it's that. Now it's the Afghanistanians who came over. Never mind who's trained by the CEA. And it's all that shit, and it feeds hate. And more of the hate that gets fed, eventually the hate has to turn on itself and start eating itself. And that's what you're seeing now is the beginnings of a MAGA civil war that are going on between these people, and they're going to eventually gobble themselves up. Now, I don't think it's going to happen on YouTube, because I just think what's going to happen is as people have less and less tolerance for hateful channels, you're going to see those people pivot and claim it's a natural evolution of my mindset, which means I need to make more. I need to make the money I was making, so I'm going to embrace this. Look what Megyn Kelly did. Megyn Kelly tried to use sexual assault survivors and victims to save her NBC show. And then she became irrelevant. And it wasn't until she embraced MAGA and platformed MAGA and pushed that ideology more that she all of a sudden found new life. And now she's out here ignoring the consent of teenagers, trying to scoff and laugh at it as it's and say that it's not really underage and not really young girls. And so that's what you see. So for her, she embraced that because it led to power. And now she is stuck in that place. In order to keep her power, she has to constantly be reaffirming whatever disgustingly sexist, racist, homophobic shit that that extreme MAGA says, so that they keep listening to her. So I think when the public says they don't want that shit anymore, that's when you're going to see all these people change. Again, it's the public that dictates everything. If people didn't watch or listen to it, they wouldn't keep spewing hate, but people do, and when they stop, it's going to change. Matt Simpson McCall, accidentally spill your drunken gladiator influencer. No, I don't know who it was. I really don't know who it was. Oh, accidentally spill your drink on the Gladiator? No. That's no. I don't like to. You guys might not believe this, but I don't like to get into confrontations in public. I don't like to antagonize people. I like to keep to myself. I am an extrovert and I am an introvert, and by that I mean I'm an extrovert on here and talking with you guys and being on shows. It's a lot of fun. But when I'm out in the public, I really like to keep to myself. I don't like to go out there and be a gregarious personality. When I go to the movie, I hardly talk to any of the critics here in San Diego. It's not because I don't think that I should or I don't want to get to know them. I'm just a private person when I'm out in public. I like to keep to myself. But if someone comes up and talks to me, I'll have a conversation with them. I met a guy recently at a screening who was a fan of The Outlaw. I had no idea this dude, and the dude has 100,000 subscribers on TikTok, and he works at a nursing care facility, and he does reviews at night, and he's been doing anime reactions on his TikToks. Amazing. And I sat and talked with him for like 5-10 minutes before the Running Man screening. I think it's called Rob Talks Movies. Very simple title, smart, to the point. And his TikToks are great. I watch them. I wish I could do those TikToks. It's kind of the goal in 2026 is to be more on TikTok and create more content for TikTok. And he's one of the inspirations. I saw what he was able to do. I'm like, I can do that. If people watch, who knows, but I can do that. And so I will talk with, but I don't normally go out of my way to talk to people. So I don't like to cause any kind of trouble. I just like I like Bruce Lee. I don't want no trouble. I just want to watch the movie. Doug also says, award season is upon us. You being a lover of Westerns and epics, what are your thoughts on Heaven's Gate and The Postman, both considered worst ever? The Postman is not redeemable. It's a bad movie. I love Costner. I love Will Patton. That is not a good movie. Waterworld is better than The Postman, for fuck's sake. Heaven's Gate. I have on Criterion. I like Heaven's Gate. I know the issues with Heaven's Gate, but I enjoy the characters and I enjoy the performances. So I think there's been a reassessment of Heaven's Gate over the last few years. I don't think it would be on Criterion if there hadn't been a reassessment. And so I really love that movie. I like that movie a lot. And I think, well, not a lot. I like that movie. And I think it's better than people initially thought. And I'm sad because Michael Cimino, that was the end of Michael Cimino as a director. And I think he should have kept going. KJ7457 says, Superman, the movie special edition, is the superior version of the movie compared to the theatrical version, in my opinion. What do you think, Otis Berg? Yeah, sure. I like the Superman movie special. I'm not as hardcore about the 1978 Superman as some, like my friend Michael Vogel is, right? Like I've seen that movie probably 40 or 50 times, but if you're asking me to tell the difference between the Superman movie special edition and the one that came out in theaters, I couldn't tell you the difference. So I appreciate your opinion. I just got the James Gunn Superman in 4K on Black Friday from Gruv, Gruv. If you guys aren't shopping at Gruv, let me tell you, those guys are great. I bought 4 Blu-rays for $13.99 each, or sorry, 4Ks for $13.99 each. I got F1, I got Sinners, I got Superman, and I got Cinderella Man, which is one of my favorite Ron Howard movies and one of my favorite Russell Crowe performances. And they came really fast. So I'm a big fan of Gruv. So if any of you have ever tried Gruv out or were nervous to try Gruv, I have to say I recommend them. They're not even sponsoring me or paying me for any of this. I'm just saying I like Gruv. They do great stuff there. So, and I know they're selling the Superman the movie edition in 4K for like $13.99, I think. Fantastic 314, Right Wing Radio got big around 2005-ish. Yeah, that I do know. The early 2000s is when Right Wing Radio with Glenn Beck and Rush Limbaugh and there's a few. Dennis Lehane, I think it was. There's quite a. Oh no, wait, that's an author. I can't remember Dennis something, but there was a number of them there in the early 2000s for sure. Couldn't get away from them, and of course Howard Stern was the counter to those guys. So I listened to Howard. Mr. Penguin 88 says, do you think fans will turn on Supergirl movie if it's too much like Guardians of the Galaxy? No, I think some people will, the people who have it out for James Gunn. Listen, I'm an honest person about James Gunn, right? I praise the things that are great about Gunn, and I sometimes will come after some of his false truths, some of his massaging the truth responses to certain things. But I'm honest about Gunn. And I think there are people who aren't. And there are people who are adamant and they want him out because they're Snyderverse people or they just don't like his stuff. And so they'll find any excuse to not like him. And so I think there will be some people who will say it's too much like Guardians of the Guy. He's repeating himself, even though he didn't direct the movie. Craig Gillespie directed the movie, but they'll come after Gunn anyway. So we'll see. But I'm looking forward to that on Thursday, that trailer. I hope it's good. And the rumor is Doomsday is going to come out the same day, which to me makes no sense. You got to put Doomsday on a separate day. I don't know why you would put it on the same day. It makes no sense. John DX Dragon says, "Hey Rocha, thank you for always bringing honesty and good character to your videos." Thank you, John. I appreciate that. Question: What are you most excited to see from DC and Netflix in the future, and what would you want overall personally? Well, I think I would want. What would I want? Here's what I would want. I want Netflix to not put their fingers on everything. Because what I have seen Netflix do is they buy properties and people are excited, like Avatar: The Last Airbender, not a great series, but enough people enjoyed it that they got a second season. But like they essentially ran off the original creators of the series because what Netflix like to do is their executives like to put their fingerprints on the things that they buy. And sometimes in putting their fingerprints on the things they buy, they offend people who come in with their stuff. And so I think that's an issue with Netflix. So I don't want them to do that. So one of the things I would like to see, what I want overall personally, is for them not to put their fingerprints on the DC universe. Let James Gunn cook with the DC universe. If it starts to fall apart or has bad reactions from people, then okay, Netflix step in, fix this, figure out what to do. I like the excitement. A Netflix Booster Gold show makes all the sense in the world to me. A Netflix Blue Beetle show makes all the sense in the world to me. Ted Kord or Jaime Reyes rather. I'm down with that. So I think there's a lot of opportunities to have shows because like the things you've been hearing from certain scoopers is that HBO Max people or HBO people were kind of laughing at James Gunn, thinking he could do HBO level quality shows with the DC universe. Now, Lanterns, I think, is going to be an anomaly. It's why they're comparing it to True Detective. But I think there was a Wonder Twin show or something like that. There was other shows that Gunn was pitching. And from what I understand from people I've heard with sources at HBO, they were kind of giggling to themselves, thinking James could do those kinds of shows on HBO with the prestige that HBO has. Netflix, however, makes all the sense in the world for those kinds of shows. And I think that's gonna be fun to see if this all goes through. I could see a Mr. Miracle show live action on Netflix, couldn't you? That would be a lot of fun. So I think there's more possibilities to play with some of the smaller characters or some of the more interesting characters of the DC universe. A Harley Quinn TV show. Tell me you wouldn't see a Harley Quinn series that's 6 episodes. It'd be kind of fun, right? So I think there's Harley Quinn, Poison Ivy, live action, Lethal Weapon type show. Let's go. So I think there's possibilities there. And I'd like them to keep putting the movies out in the theaters. I want the DC movies, the ones that merit it, should be out in theaters for as long as they can run and make money, and then of course move them to streaming so people can enjoy. So I think there's a lot that can be done there that would be a lot of fun with DC and Netflix for sure. I would love if they had a service where you could watch or you could read the comics on Netflix. Like you would just turn the page with your Apple TV control or whatever controller, Roku, whatever. And you could read DC Comics on the Netflix, on TV. That'd be a lot of fun. Put that as a situation. Make that happen as an app. They've got those trivia apps that you can play. Why can't you, on a DC umbrella, select a title and boom, you can read the title there on the screen. I think it'd be great. John also comes in with, I legitimately believe that Supergirl will be the winner for DC in 2026. Craig Gillespie is the golden egg Gunn has right now and will surprise everyone. Yeah, Craig Gillespie is amazing. So I would not be surprised if his Supergirl comes out and it's fucking great. I love his I, Tonya. I think he's a great director. And I think he understands how to I don't want to say use, but I think he understands how to get the best out of female actresses and these characters. And so I am very curious. Just from the 10 seconds I saw, the energy of those 10 seconds, I'm like, yeah, I'm on board with this. So I think we're going to have a banger of a movie. I agree with you. And from what a lot of us are hearing behind the scenes is at these screenings that they've had already, these quiet screenings they've had for people on the lot at WB, the response has been really positive to that movie. So I think that's great. And I agree with you. I think it's going to be a winner for DC in 2026. KJ7457 says, do you still think about the questions you missed in the Schmoedown battles? Oh my God, your performances were so impressive and inspiring. That is so nice of you to say, man. You know, it's always weird to be reminded of it because it's kind of crazy. It was 7 years ago or 6 years ago, something like that. It was or I guess it was 5. I guess 5. Well, I don't know. How long has it been? It's been a bit, right? So, I mean, in person, I think it's been 7 years, other than the Schmoedown Spectacular when I retired. Online, I think it was a little bit less. So, yeah, it's been a bit. But I still go back and watch old matches every once and play. Like, 'cause sometimes I forget, and not even my matches. I go and play other people's matches and see if I can still do it. Listen, I'm getting older. Some of those answers don't come as quickly as they used to. So that's the truth. I remember Matt Atchity said that to me one time when we were right after we beat them, right? Top 10 beat Rotten Tomatoes when it was him and Gray Drake. And we went out to, Matt's one of the best dudes. Like I didn't know if Matt was a good dude because he was kind of like aloof a little bit at times and could be playfully critical of things. But one of the coolest things ever was like we went out after that match and at I think Barney's Beanery, we went up and just had some food and chatted because I asked him if he wouldn't mind having lunch after the game, and we had a really nice conversation. We became friends, and I like Matt a lot. He's such a good guy, and he was always great to give me advice when I was starting out and how to approach this stuff, and he was never shy about it. He always said, call me, text me if you come into anything. I will absolutely guide you through it. It was great. One of the things he said to me near the end, and I think Christian was there too, is that he said you guys love playing this game because you can. Let me tell you something. As you get older, those answers don't come as quickly as they used to. And you know what? He's fucking right. Like I don't know if I could repeat my performances from back then. Now, I watched myself some of those 2016, 2017 matches, and I'm like, this guy's a lot. That Rocha is a lot. And I just go, wow, that was that time. I was hungry. I was driven. I was desperate to prove myself in the field of punditry and in the Schmoedown. And I had a lot of people who didn't want me to succeed. Some of the people that you guys watch or listen talked a lot of shit about me behind my back because I came in as the new guy. And I immediately wanted all of it. I didn't want to wait. I didn't want to sit behind people because I was older than them. And I didn't have a lot of time to establish myself. So I had to use the time I had to try to do as much as possible. And, that stepped on some toes. That rubbed some people wrong. But it was never from a place of malice. It was always from a place of, I don't have a lot of time. I need to establish myself because I know I want to do this. And so, some people didn't like it. Some people got upset about it. Some people liked it. And a lot of you fans were very supportive of it, which I appreciate because, it wasn't easy being the outlaw and blurring the lines between personal and a character. But it means so much when people still remember it and talk about it. And it still makes me feel old because I feel old about that stuff. But watching that angry, driven, determined, aggressive Rocha. Like I remember the first few years of the Schmoedown, and Christian will attest to this. I would pace back and forth. Some of the people who were in it will remember, like, I wanted to play every match. I was so hungry to prove what I knew about movies that I wanted to play in every match. Like I would play matches in my head when other people were playing on the set. I would just walk back and forth and yell stuff out to some of the competitors, because I was kind of young and full of piss and vinegar and had my beliefs on things. And of course I look at that behavior and I feel a little ashamed about that behavior back then because I didn't know any better. And I was just like, I just loved it so much. And I wanted to do it. I wanted to fight I wanted to have a 2-on-1 match. I wanted to fight whole team on my own. Like I just had this thing, like I want to prove it, and it was an extension of wanting to prove myself in the space of punditry. And I worked hard at it, and I worked a lot of years with no money. I don't know how many shows I did where I never got paid a dime. And so people come into the punditry space now, like, you need to pay me $50 an hour. It's like, what? You haven't done anything. Who the fuck are you? People have this kind of entitlement to it. I did 2 or 3 years where I was driving all the time up and down the road, in between auditions, in between gigs. It was at the time I was living off my acting gigs. So I was hustling. And I would go and I would hang out with Adam or Hector or Augustine or Danny or Ellis or Christian or the people over at Geek Nation, the people over at what was the other place? Geek and Sundry, and the place that like Emma Fife was, BuzzFeed, and Lucas ran that place out in North Hollywood. Fuck, what was the name? Adam would do stuff there. God, I can't remember the place. And I would do stuff there, and I did it for free. There are so many I did for free, and I loved it because I was proud to do it for free because I'm a guy who likes to earn my keep. And so I got to prove to you I can do this. So as soon as I did it, I'd be like, when can I be back? I'd love to come back. And then, if I didn't hear from them for a couple weeks, I'd send a message or something. I didn't mind. I was hungry, and so I wanted to prove myself. And I wanted to test myself. I wanted to see how I could get better. It's the only way I can get better is to do it. That's the truth in life. You can be trained. You can train all you want, but you got to do it. That's when you really learn how to do this stuff, And so for me, that was something that I was always driven by. And I never had qualms about not getting paid. It wasn't until later, like when Collider paid us, I think it was $25 a show to host the Flash after show and the Walking Dead recap show. That was like from when I was freelancing before I became full time. I mean, I was happy with that. I was like, $25, sure, why not? This experience, I'm working with people like Campia or David Griffin. It was real. I mean, David's one of the best dudes on the business. John wasn't, we never had like a friendship, John and I, but I always respected him and I still respect him, but we don't text each other, call each other up. We don't appear at each other's shows. We don't have that kind of relationship. Right. For whatever reason, I don't know what the reason is, but for whatever reason. But I always respected John because he was a successful guy who kind of paved the way along with, Jamie and, Stuckman and the guys from is that right? Yeah, and the guys from the beginning. Is it Jamie? Am I saying that right? Oh, fuck, my mind just went. See what I mean? I would get killed in a Schmoedown match now. The dude with the Jeremy Johns. Yes, Jeremy. No, not Jamie. Jeremy. Yes, Jeremy. I love Jeremy. He's my boy. So, yeah. So, working with those guys, I got to learn so much, Working with Ken Knapsack, I got to learn so much. Roxy taught me so much. Dan Merle. I mean, that's one of my friendships that I'm very proud to still have is Dan Merle, And so there are so many people who taught me, Lon Harris. I loved watching Lon. Lon was so smart about stuff and such a unique personality. Who is the skinny kid at Fandom who works the Honest Trailers with Lon? That guy was good. He brought me on a show to talk about 1989 Batman, and it was a great conversation with him. And so Gray Drake, who was amazing. I mean, Gray is an angel in the business, man. Gray is just such a good person. Like if you're on the bad side of Gray, you've done something terribly wrong. Gray is such a loving, accepting person, and she's great. And in a business when so many people are jealous and envious and try to backstab you or sabotage you, Gray is one of the good ones that's out there. She really is. She's one of the great ones. Working with the people at BuzzFeed was great. Yeah, Joe Starr. Yes, Joe. Joe was great. Joe was a lot of fun. I worked with Dorina. Mike Joyce said Dorina. Yeah, Dorina was a blast at at Collider. And when we did our politics show, I had a great time working with Dorina. She was such a good person. So there were quite a few. And even, Perry was a great mentor for the first year and a half I was there. And then at times we would butt heads because I wanted more and she was already at that place. And so I was kind of, maybe possibly threatening what she wanted and all of it. So it's it's a business. And Frosty is a terrible boss who wants codependent relationships with his employees. And I was never good at that. And Fernandez and I never had the greatest of relationships because Mark, I just didn't get that guy at all. And he didn't get me. And we just never really mixed. I appreciated him hiring me full time. I'll always be grateful that he hired me full time and that he trusted me to try to do Collider Sports. I always appreciated that, but I never knew where I stood with him. We never had like a warm relationship. He never took me out for lunch or dinner or a drink or anything. He would take other people out for lunch or a drink or dinner, but he never took me out. And that to me was always an indication of like where he saw me. And so, those are motivating things. And then when he let me go, he tried to take me out to lunch. And I was like, what? Why? Why would you now want to take me out to lunch? Because you fucked up in how you fired me. And so I've never I never really appreciated that. And so I never went out to lunch with him, and he stopped after the first couple of weeks. He stopped trying. He tried to hug me one time. And I was like, what are you doing, man? It was weird. So we just never really got along. And, he took down all the Collider Sports stuff eventually. And so I've never been able to get access to any of that. So I have no footage of that anymore. But, it was a mixed bag. And look, I'm sure I take responsibility. I'm sure my aggressive desire to learn and get better and study and do more rubbed people the wrong way. I had battles occasionally with Thad because I remember Thad yelling at me one time. He's like, you want to be on everything, Rocha? And I got mad at him and we went at it. And, it was never from a place of like, fuck everyone else. Give me what I want. It was more from a place of like, I want to learn and I need to be able to do this stuff to learn. It wasn't an ego thing. It wasn't like, I want to, if I had an ego, I would be taking selfies and doing videos. I would have a TikTok account already. I don't have that thing to put myself on camera all the time, although that's got to change. I just don't, even convincing myself to do an episode of The Truth tonight, I spent all day trying to talk myself into it. This is how I work. I'm not a person who necessarily, I know this is weird for some people to get, I'm not a person who necessarily wants to draw attention to myself, which is really an antithesis to be successful in this business. And so I'm, should I do more reactions? Yes. Should I do more videos? Yes. But I'm not always a person who wants to get up there and put myself on camera, which is ironic because in the past, all I wanted to do was get on camera so I could prove what I could do, And so, yeah, I didn't always have the best relationships with some people there. Some of the production guys didn't like me because they were constantly editing my shit because I was on all the shit. And maybe it was personal. I don't know. We never had a conversation about it. But you see the people who invite me on their shows and the people who don't. That should tell you where my relationships are with those people. I think, and one of the guys who taught me a lot was Ken. Ken Knapsack. I should reach out to Ken. I want to come on his YouTube show or his Facebook show. What's it called? The Flappening, or I think it's called The Flappening or something like that. I've watched a few episodes on Facebook of the show. I like Ken. Ken's great personality, great voice, great attitude. And I always lament the fact that we never did a show together because I think Ken and I would be a great combo because Ken is even more of a introvert than I am, even on camera. But I think like I could challenge him. We could have a nice like energy and chemistry going back and forth about topics overall. But Ken's a slippery eel. Like he'll only give you as much as he wants to give you about what he really thinks about something. It's rare when you get Ken to crack open and give you everything he thinks about something. And I think that's kind of the gift of Ken because people are intrigued by the mystery and they sense that he's holding something back. So they keep coming back to see what else he has to say about stuff. I think it's his natural energy. So yeah, The Blathering. That's right. The Blathering. That's it, Alan Smithy, The Blathering, which I thought was a great title. It's a very good title. I was like, oh, that's a good title. Fuck, I should have thought of that. But yeah, I mean, those were the days. And I learned so much from so many people, right? Christian Ellis taught me so much. I watched them all the time, working with Schnapp, right? Working with John. John was an interesting character, an interesting cat. And I'm not one of those people that's going to take advantage of my relationship with John. I was the producer, and I enjoyed being friends. I would say friends with John, not deep friends, not close friends. We didn't go on trips together. I didn't try to attach myself like a barnacle to John Schnepp. I was respectful to John because he had established himself and done his thing. You know, I wasn't one of those people that tried to do that with people. And so I had a healthy respect for John. And of course, when what happened to him, I went to the hospital, visited him a few times. It was so heartbreaking to be in the room, to see a man that size brought so small. But he still had that energy. I mean, just him lying in a hospital bed, he still felt like a titan. Let me tell you, like a titan. And I'm going to stress that second T, like in every definition of the word, even in a hospital bed with tubes in him and he's kind of in and out of it, he still was this titan figure in a room. And that is just a sample of the energy that was John Schnepp, you know. And Robert Meyer Burnett. I love Rob. I still love Rob. I'd love to do more stuff with Rob. I think Rob is one of the best guys, man. I loved working with him. Oh God, and shit. It's been so long since I thought about her. Who was the co-host on Heroes with Schnepp? What was her name? Amy, right? She was so sweet. Is it Amy? Is that right, Amy? Oh, I forget what her name was. Oh, I forget what her name. What is this? You lost, Trump won, Larry Ellison won. What? How random. Yes, Amy Dallin. Yes, Amy. Oh, Amy, another sweetheart. By the way, a sweetheart, but deceptively strong when she needs to be. I'm telling you, Amy is the nicest person. But if you cross her or she thinks you've done something wrong, she will fucking let you know in a way that surprises you. So I love that about Amy. She was a sweetheart, very nice person. But if she felt you were on the wrong side of things or you weren't treating certain things right, she'd let you know. I remember one time she had a harsh word for me because I made some comment about something, and she said, and I can't remember exactly what she said, but she kind of made me stop because she was just like, well, I think you should look at it this way. And that's what I was like, well, Amy, you're absolutely fucking right. I step back. You're right. So, yeah. So, I mean, it was an incredibly talented crew. Oh, and Riley, of course, fucking Riley. Of course, Riley. Jesus. Riley was the best. I lament that my relationship is not as strong with Mark as it was when we were there at Collider, you know, because I think Mark is one of the best dudes. And for whatever reason, we just, you know, haven't maintained our friendship at the level that it was before, you know. But I see everything he's doing. I see his kids, or his child rather, and, you know, his relationship. And I'm happy for him and the things he's working on. You know, Mark's one of the best, dude. So it was always fun working with. And I remember when we both, you know, when Collider did us dirty and we both were trying to start our own channels, we would go on each other's show, right? We would visit each other and see the studio setups we were doing at the beginning. And Adam came over and helped Mark, you know, and I think he came over and helped me once. And so it was like, it was so fun to have those common experiences after Collider let us go. But dude, you look back, or dude and ladies, you look back now, that was such a fucking talented crew. Like the talent in that team. How did you fuck that up? That's what you got to ask yourself. That was a great team. You got to say, how did the manager fuck that up? You had Christian, Ellis, Danny, as a recurring guest star, Knapsack, Riley, me, Makuga, Roxy, Dorina, Thad in production. The Wangers doing things behind the scenes with Adam, Schnepp, Amy Dallin. Like how that, Alicia Malone, who now of course is at TCM. You know, so happy for her at TCM. That was a hell of a crew, bro. How did you fuck that up? How did you not understand Like if we had had better managers who understood YouTube, who understood what to do. Oh yeah, Perry as well, who understood what to do. And the writers. I mean, don't forget the writers. We had Haley Fouch, we had Goldberg, we had Adam, we had what's his fucking name? Victor? Is it Victor? Oh, I haven't thought of him in a long time. I'm sorry, I don't remember the names. But yeah, even the writing crew who was there with us every day, he was fucking great. Mance, right? Mance would come in and do stuff, you know. The Tiffany, right? Tiffany was part of the crew. She came over as a recurring situation because she didn't go full time at Collider. But yeah, that was a crew. Frank, right? Frank, that was a crew, man. We were a crew. Wendy, right? Wendy. Look at how Wendy is blown up. There is no one I'm happier for out of the old Collider crew than Wendy Lee. Like nobody. I'm not happier for anybody more than I am for Wendy. Because she's too good of a person to say this, but I will say this. And I'm telling the truth. There were people higher up at Collider who were making the decisions who thought Wendy wasn't a good personality on camera. And I thought they were wrong. And when I got into a position where I could bring her on to Mailbag and on to Movie Talk, I lobbied hard to have her on to Mailbag and Movie Talk. And you know why? Because I know what it was like for people to not want to put you on stuff because they don't think you're good enough. Like I remember having that experience. I wasn't on certain reviews. I wasn't on certain shows because people felt they wouldn't let me be on Collider Heroes as a regular. Like they were like, no, we're gonna bring other people on, and I was always hurt by that. I was like, I fucking know just as much, and so it was that kind of thing. And so so with Wendy, they thought like certain people, including Mark, only saw her as the secretary or the appointment person. But I knew Wendy had her YouTube channel on the side, and I would watch some shows, and I'd be like, "What the fuck are you all talking about?" And so I made it a point to get Wendy on the shows I was hosting, you know, because I respected her work. And so to see how after everything went down with Collider and the way she was treated by the end as well, and what her and Dustin have built on the movie couple, I mean, fuck, man, that is amazing. I'm so happy for her. I'm so happy for how she's grown. I hope she becomes an even bigger voice in the world of film. Because she's such a good person. Also, Wendy's also a person who, like, for as sweet as she is, if she doesn't like something or she thinks you're doing wrong, she'll fucking tell you. And I've always appreciated that about Wendy. She was always so good to me, man. At Collider, when I was nervous, when I was scared, when I was emotional, when I felt like I wasn't good enough, Wendy would take me for a coffee or a walk, and we would just talk it out. And she was always so positive, man. Because I mean, it was an intimidating crew to walk into because I had to fight my way to become a full-time employee, you know. I had to convince Mark to hire me, and Mark, as I said, to his credit, Mark did hire me, and I appreciated that, right? But everybody a lot of people saw me as kind of Christian's boy, so there was that kind of thing of, well, I'm connected to Christian, so therefore, you know, I might be spying for Christian, or I'm trying to possibly undercut certain people because Christian doesn't like them. So there's a lot of that behind the scenes drama. For all the greatness that we were on camera, there was a lot of behind the scenes suspicion and egos and questioning that went on. But, you know, that's going to go on with any great team. The problem is you had a leader in Mark who was telling people to spy on other people. And that is a way that you don't develop a trust in your fellow employee and a camaraderie amongst people. I don't know how many times he told me, like, is Perry really doing what she says she's doing? Is Riley really doing what he says he's doing? And it was like always uncomfortable to have those conversations. And I was always like, yeah, they're working hard. They're always working. I see them. They're always working hard. But I'm sure he had other people spying on me, and I'm sure he had people spying on Christian. And it was like, report back to me, all this kind of stuff. So that isn't the way you lead people. And that's how you fumble a great team. That's how you fumble that amount of talent. And the fact that almost all of them are still doing stuff in this space speaks volumes to how much you fumble that fucking ball. And I don't care what he says. I don't care how he defends it. Oh, and Dennis as well. Let's not forget Dennis, who was great. That's another member of the team. So, there were so many where he fumbled the ball on the whole situation, So, well, you say Bateman. Bateman wasn't part of the crew. Bateman was a guest star. So I would mention Ben. I don't think Ben. I don't even know what Ben is doing now. Hold on, let me blow my nose now. By the way, here's an open call. If Ben was ever open to repairing our relationship, I think enough years has gone by from that Schmoedown situation where I would be open to opening the door to Ben. Because I think I blocked him on Twitter years ago because of all that shit that went down at the end of the Schmoedown. Because, Ben kind of went off the deep end with a lot of suspicion and a lot of questions about things that were going on. And, I don't want to speak out of turn because I don't want to reveal some things that were told to me in confidence, but it was a little bit out there. And, but looking back on it now, 5 years later, it's well, yeah, because the pressure was so high, and a lot of his status in the Action Army was connected to how well he did on the show, right? And so there was a lot of, well, I've got to make sure that this is the optimal setting for me to be able to do my best, right? And so now as an older person, I can look back at what Ben was doing, and although I may not support some of the things Ben did, I can also say I did some shit to try to, give me a competitive advantage. I never fucked anyone over or tried to, question anybody's ethics about writing questions or whatever, but I certainly had my own things about how I went about doing stuff that rubbed people the wrong way. So I can say, as a competitor myself, I have to create grace for how Ben was. And look, we legitimately did not like each other eventually. Initially it was beef that was played up a little bit with Matt and I against them. But then it became real, and we patched things up to do the Horseman. And we really were supportive of each other. I went over to Ben's house after he had the surgery, and I sat with him for hours, quizzing him before the match. But it was when they pitted us against each other with the Dan Murrell, Ben Bateman thing. That's when I think the Atlanta Schmoedown is the thing that fractured us. And to be fair, I should take responsibility for my part in that, because I was kind of envious at the time of the situation. I was envious that I didn't have the belt. I was envious that I wasn't a champion. And so through Dan, I was kind of grinding my axe. And then we worked on the Schmoedown show together. It was always Ben was always it's my show. And you're just the caretaker. And being an older person, I took that as I was offended by that, and so I took that in a personal way, when I think if I had a little more of the self-esteem and confidence that I have now, I'd have been yeah, sure, it's your show, whatever, man. It's cool. I'm rolling with it. But I was no, I've got to look good in front of the fans. I'm the outlaw. I've got to do this. So I got caught up in that, and so so I can take responsibility for my part of it for sure. But it was all about competition, and competition doesn't always breed the best out of people. Michael Jordan, watch The Last Dance again and see how much shit he did to try to be a champion. Those Tom Brady commercials are amazing. Those recent NFL Tom Brady commercials, when he is showing, when they're showing regular people what it would like to be Tom Brady, it's funny, but there's also an element of truth in it, right? When the new one with the woman who is trying to do the trivia with the nursing home and stuff, and she walks out feeling underappreciated, and Tom goes, "Winning is a lonely business," and that I saw it the other day during watching the games. I was oh fuck, that hit me like a diamond bullet, because I remember when I beat Dan, people congratulated me, but then I went and sat on a couch by myself, and I felt so alone, I'd done it, but I wasn't carried out. If I'd done it at a live event, I think it would have had a much more now there were people in the studio audience. Obviously, you saw even Bateman was clapping for me, because back then we were cool with each other, and Rachel and my friend Shannon from the Geek Buddies was there, And it was an amazing experience. But to have beaten Dan at a live event for the belt, I think that would have been where I wouldn't have felt alone. Like I would have been carried out. That would have been amazing, right? So it's just those little. So I get it, and so I think there's a little bit of my ego and my desire to win. Also, self-esteem issues about like, hey, who am I? And of course, in 2016, that's when all that stuff caught up with me, and I almost took my own life. And so, but yeah, I mean, I think now, all these years later, I would be down to repair that with Ben. Maybe have him on the show, do an episode of The Truth with Ben and I reminiscing about our time in the Schmoedown and maybe repairing our friendship or relationship, at least to be, cordial or friendly with each other. I would be down with that. Princess, the show's become spilled the tea. Well, fair, yeah. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, but I think Ben was on one of Christian's show, wasn't he, on the Harloff show recently in New York? Like he was stopping by, because I think he's like still knee deep into the Magic the Gathering stuff, right? He's still knee deep in the Magic the Gathering stuff. So yeah, yes, I mean, if someone if someone wanted to, I'm not going to do that. Like I don't know where Ben is at with things. So if someone wanted to broker that peace deal, someone wanted to be, bringing together the two powers of the Middle East to have a peace deal at Camp David with me and Ben, I would be open to that. Yeah, which is weird for me. I didn't think I was going to say that tonight. I didn't think I was going to open my mind up to any of that tonight, but I'm in that place where I'm getting older and like, you're letting go of a lot of things that were frustrating for you at the time, So yeah, Ben does MTG, right? Exactly, and Magic the Gathering, right? No, because then he gets all the financial benefit. No way. If he was willing to pay us both to do that, then I think that would be a lot of fun. I think that would be a lot of fun to do that. But no way am I going to let him get all the money from the reconciliation of me and Ben. That he should totally host it, but only if we like split the profits and all of that shit. Well, this is John. He's still friends with Mendes. Yeah, I think yes. I mean, we never were friends when we were doing the show. Like people still don't accept that. Like Matt and I never went out to dinner all the time. I never went out to movies, and we didn't text each other, hey, I saw something funny. I mean, occasionally we text each other about the NBA or stuff, but no, Matt and I were never really like friends. Do you know what I'm saying? We were friendly. We were friends. Like we worked on the show together. We respected each other's points of views, and we made the show work. But like when we went to Chicago, like we didn't go out to eat or go out to dinner or do anything. And when we went to London, we didn't hang out after. We just hung out with everybody who came to see us in London, but Matt and I didn't, hang out after that. And so we had a good partnership and it worked for the show. And I do miss that show. I've thought about asking Matt if he would love to come back and do the top 10 again, like once a month on my channel, and I would pay him because we had such great chemistry. But, in the end, he didn't want to keep doing a show with me. And I think he's happier doing the show he's doing. And top 10 had fizzled out. I was the one that brought it up and said to him, listen, we got it. You're happier doing the movie score show. You should just keep doing that. Whatever we're making on the Patreon, both of us can make up that money in other areas of our lives. We don't have to keep doing the show and talking about the same movies, the same lists, because I wanted to change the show into what I have with Winston or what I have with Jeff. I wanted to have a show where it was me and Matt talking about the entertainment stories of the day. I think that would have been the natural next step for us. And I think we could have revitalized the show and we could have started touring again live once COVID was over. It's very possible, but he didn't want to do that. And that's Matt's prerogative. I'm not mad at Matt. I don't fault Matt at all. He just didn't want to keep going with the show in that direction. And I think he has every right to make that decision for himself. And in the end, it just was what it was. And yeah, we'd had a few battles through the years because Matt's a different personality than I am. But Matt, I'm telling you this right now, I give Matt 100% credit for this. I don't think the show would have achieved the things it had achieved without Matt. Like, honestly, not just because it's co-host. Like, Matt handled some of the business side of things that I didn't know too much about because Matt was a touring comic. So when we started doing live shows, Matt was great at, like, let's set up these Facebook pages. Let's see how many people are saying they'll show up. Let's see how many tickets we can sell. And then we can set up like a tour. And then he was the one talking with the venues. Like, he would ask me, like, what do you want to have? What do you want to do? Is this place look good? And so he would run things by me, but Matt was very much in charge of setting that stuff up. And he was great at it, right? He was great at it. Like, we would have never toured live if it wasn't for Matt. Like, the LA show, I think I took the initiative on that with Stacy. Stacy was very kind to offer us that theater there for the LA show. But then the response from the LA show, people that came from Canada, people came from New York to see us. That gave us like the inspiration to try to go to other countries, you know, and it was great. And Matt was great at that. I mean, our London show, I'm telling you, dude, listen, I know people think sometimes I'm a cocky, arrogant person or whatever and all that shit, but I mean, sometimes in certain things, yes, I will admit I'm not a fucking saint. But the London show, honestly, is one of the most humbling things I've ever experienced in my life. Like, utterly humbling. And I also think we were in our fucking prime, man. I'd have put our show against any show. I'd have gone toe to toe with Howard Stern, Joe Rogan, all those fucking guys. I think the top 10 show at its peak with our chemistry, we would have beaten anybody. I honestly believe that. We had natural chemistry. We never talked about the topics ahead of time. Everything came up organically. Honestly, we never talked about shit ahead of time. Even the London live show, that all came up organically. If you ever listen to the episode again, like, none of that was talked about ahead of time. Everything was off. Like, we riffed off each other really well. And maybe in not being like friends, like fully friends, it allowed that to be fresh because we didn't know what each other thought about certain subjects as they came up. So we were naturally, organically reacting to them in the shows, and people loved that, you know. And I think we had a respect for each other and a like for each other enough to do the show, which is what came through in the banter and the back and forths in the comments. So, but yeah, you know, and it was so much fun to do the show with him when we were at our peak, which is why, like, I ended the show when I did. Because I said to Matt, I said to him, and I probably said it to him a bit too aggressively, but I just was like, Matt, you're happier doing Settle the Score. You should just keep doing that. Like, we're holding on doing this show, and it's neither one of us are 100% happy about doing it. We're hitting the bongos and all, like, we're just going through the motions. The last 6 to 8 months, we've gone, and our Patreon kept dropping and dropping and dropping. And so eventually the signs go, look, they're not interested anymore. And we're not willing to reinvent the show. Matt was great at time. I think we both suggested stuff to improve the show, but Matt suggested really interesting, the golden ticket, what was it? I think it was called the golden ticket. That was so much fun having the fans contribute and do it. Like, those are those ideas that he came up with that kept the show fresh. And they were a lot of fun. You know, and fans loved the show. I mean, people would said some of the most amazing things and sent some of the most amazing letters. And remember when you all were sending gifts, like when we were getting those gifts, those were, again, all of it was so supremely humbling. But that London show, I think, was the peak of the top 10. That was like the peak. Everything after that was a little bit of a steady decline. But like the London show, people from 13 countries came to see a couple of idiots like me and Matt do a live show in London, for fuck's sake. 200 people. We had 220 people who came to see the show. We sold out the place, or we filled the place. I don't know if we sold out. We filled the place all the way to the back row. Mind blowing. And it wasn't like a small club like we did in Chicago. Like, it was a big auditorium in London, at one of the premier places in London to do shows and concerts. To this day, I still can't believe it happened. and went off the way it did. And we had such a great crowd. And again, we played off that crowd really well and did our countdown, and both of our significant others came with us to experience it. That was my first trip with the Lady Outlaw outside the country. And we had only gotten together a few months before. And, Matt was there with his wife, who's an amazing woman. So, it was a hell of an experience for sure. Fred says London was the shark and jumped the shark. Yeah, well, I don't think we jumped the shark. I just think we never could reach that peak again. But it wasn't because we got cheesy. Like, that's what jumping the shark means, is they got cheesy. We didn't bring on a new kid, a new child to try to get the audience's sympathy. We never did that, So, but yes, London was the peak. Yeah, the golden ticket. That's what it was called. Oh my God, my friend Griffin just texted me. Griffin, I hope you don't mind if I read your text. He said, listening to you reminisce about the Collider days, man, you reminded me so much of the personalities of shows I used to watch in late high school and throughout college. You guys really were such an inspiration for me starting out in the crew and everything you guys built. The personalities, the regular program, the insight. Dude, you guys really were the apex of film commentary, news coverage, criticism. I do miss those days. Even aspired to work at Collider when it was the place it used to be before I really understood the business. Yeah. All this is to say is that you should be insanely proud of your work there and on the Top 10 show and continued work on the Cinephiles. Great to see you all prosper in your own distinct ways. But man, there really was something special about the mid to late 2000s when Collider Video was booming. Yeah. You're 100% right, Griffin. 100% right, brother. And I'm proud to have you as a friend, and I'm proud to see your growth, bro. I mean, where you're doing the things you're doing over there at Film Theory and the other places, Awards Watch there with Eric. I think that's right. All the places you're doing stuff, man. I'm just really proud. The interviews you're getting. Chris, you and Chris Killian are the two people that I'm like cheering for so much on the sidelines, because I think you guys are good energies out in the space. I think you really care about the creatives and getting good conversations. And I also think you both have that kind of nervous humbleness about you that makes your videos have a real authenticity to them. Now, look, you've also very strong in your opinions when you're talking about movies, but with the interviews, there's a nice like kind of openness to you and what Chris does over at comicbook.com. So I appreciate watching you guys. My battery is running out on my computer. Uh-oh. Shit, y'all. I might have to call this. Hold on. Let me see what I can do. Let me put up a screen here because let me see if I can find a plug. I'll be right back. Give me 30 seconds. Oof. Is there a phone? Is that what? All right, crisis averted. It is plugged in. So anyway, yeah, that's very kind of Griffin. Griffin. Yeah, Griffin, one of my favorite guys out there. So yeah, I should probably intermission. Well, yeah. So there you go. Well, listen, I was going to talk about the Golden Globes and talk about the Critics' Choice Awards, but I mean, I've been going for 2.5 hours. Will you guys be mad if I don't talk about it, or do you want me to talk about it? Let me know in the comments. I'm open to it all. No, not Griffin Newman. No, not Griffin Newman. I never had a good relationship with Griffin. I never had a relationship with Griffin. I didn't really know Griffin that much. But I've been talking for 2.5 hours, and I have no new super chats. None. Wow, guys, I've been talking for over an hour, and there was no contributions to all the behind-the-scenes tea and stuff that I've been spilling here. No super stickers, nothing. Oh my God, I gave you all that for free. Oh my God. Let's see. Karen sent one in. Karen said, "Tad John, are you looking forward to the last episode of Welcome to Derry? Personally, I'm loving the show. Thanks. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it for sure. I hope the new one I hope the boys can review it in the next couple of days. So hopefully we'll do it either tomorrow or Wednesday, and we'll also catch up on what do you call it? Pluribus as well. So yeah. Okay. So yeah, Golden Globes. I guess we can talk about it real quick. If people want to send stuff in, I'll come back. Yeah, Golden Globes nominations were this morning, and so were the Critics' Choice nominations. I am a member of the Critics' Choice. I think the biggest things you can talk about is what went on with Wicked on the Golden Globe side of things. Wicked for Good not being nominated for Best Musical or Comedy. That is really surprising when you look at it. Sydney Sweeney not being nominated for Best Actress in a Drama. That should tell you everything you need to know about her quote-unquote apology the other day about the jeans ad. Listen, this situation, you got to be honest about the situation, right? I mean, like, you got to tell the truth about the situation, and that is that she has had 4 flops in a row, or 3 flops in a row, and if the Housemaiden, whatever it's called, Housemaid, doesn't do well in a couple of weeks, then that'll be a 4th flop in a row. And I think she was feeling herself with her MAGA stuff and her, teasing the red state side of things. And people loving her because, she's attractive. People find her attractive. I don't find her, but I know people do find her attractive. And so she thought she could carry the day. Well, people aren't showing up to your movies. And guess what the commodity is in Hollywood? People showing up to your movies. If they stop showing up to your movies, you stop having power in Hollywood. And so I think what the apology that she gave the other day was brand saving. Her going on the Family Feud, for God's sakes, the Celebrity Family Feud is also PR brand saving to try to make her seem wholesome and relatable and connectable, because I think they know that interview she did was an utter train wreck. And her just looking at the reporter when she asked about the white supremacy thing, like, to come out now and be like, well, of course I stand against hate. I'm not in support of hate. I don't want it. What the fuck, man? That's all. You could have done that right there in the GQ interview. You could have done that when the controversy broke off. You could have absolutely come out and said, I want to say this from the beginning. There was not an intention to have that be the message of the campaign for people who are taking it this way. I hear what you're saying, but that wasn't where I was going. Please respect. I do not promote hate. I don't like hate, and I would never say that. But what I believe is that they did this on purpose, her team, because they were feeling their MAGA selves, and they thought they could be that MAGA energy in Hollywood because they've seen so many of these companies genuflect and bend the knee to Trump. What we were talking at the beginning of the show, Ted Sarandos visiting Trump to try to smooth the Netflix purchase of WB over. And Ellison, it's definitely in bed with Trump. The Ellison's in bed with Trump. So, yeah, and you've seen ABC pay Trump, CBS pay Trump. All these people pay Trump and give worship. So I think they thought they could be the rebel outlaw in the Hollywood community and be MAGA. And you can't be the rebel outlaw if no one's coming to see your fucking movies. Because then at that point, you're no different than Kevin Sorbo or Dean Cain. No one goes to see their movies anyway, either. So that's the situation that I think she found herself in. And so for her now to come out and go, well, of course I was against it. Of course I would never. That's not my point. She could have said that as soon as it blew up. But they wanted to ride out the controversy for attention, for status, and it blew up in their faces. And so now you see her, asking for her the apology, or, begging people to essentially come back and support her because of what went on with that. It's not as liberal of a town as people think, but it's still a liberal town, Jay Kelly also not getting nomination, I think, was really surprising. A lot of people thought Jay Kelly would be one of the dark horse candidates to slide in there and get a nomination, and it didn't. One that I know Jeff is going to talk about on the hot mic is the snubbing of Is This Thing On? That's a damn good movie. And I also thought it was one of those character pieces that could maybe slide in and get a nomination, but didn't. Now, it doesn't mean it won't get a nomination, or Jay Kelly won't get an Oscars nomination, but it is kind of surprising it didn't make the cut for the Golden Globes. And then Laura Dern, who was great in that movie, also didn't even get a nomination. If you haven't seen Is This Thing On, I highly recommend. You don't have to see it in a theater, although if you want to see it in theater, I totally support you seeing it in theater. It's definitely a movie you can watch at home, but it's a good movie, and I really liked it. And I thought Will Arnett pulled what we've seen other comics do, like Jim Carrey, Rob Williams. He played drama really well, and in a way that was very relatable. And so I highly recommend you guys seeing it if you haven't seen it. It's a damn good movie. And the only character I didn't 100% like in the movie was Bradley Cooper's character. But I mean, I think he had to put himself in the movie to get the funding for the movie. So I totally respect that. But the character really was kind of a useless character in the film, to be honest. His wife was much more interesting than he was. And maybe that was a choice by Bradley. Like, I'm going to play the weird character who is kind of on the periphery of all of this shit. So I don't take attention away. And that may be what was going on there. But I think the film has a great commentary on relationships and a great commentary on how we view relationships, how we interpret relationships. And and how we can learn to listen to someone even after we've been with them for 20 years, how we can find a way to learn to listen to them again and hear what they're saying and respect where they're coming from, even if you don't agree with them. And I think that was a really powerful message coming through in the movie. Superman being left out of the cinematic and box office achievement category was also surprising, especially because Avatar Fire and Ash was in that category, and Avatar Fire and Ash hasn't even come out yet. So how can it qualify for the cinematic and box office achievement category is kind of mind-blowing. Maybe I didn't know that in Golden Globes you can be nominated for something you're going to do in the future, because I'm sure people think it's going to make all kinds of money in the box office. So they're putting it in for the future, I guess. So whatever. But Jacob Elordi getting nominated for as a creature in Frankenstein, I was very happy with that. I love Jacob. I thought he was great in the movie. I still think it's Sean Penn's to win, but I mean, Benicio seems to be coming on, and I wouldn't be upset if Jacob won it, because I think Frankenstein is good. I love Frankenstein, regardless of my issues on Guillermo del Toro speaking about movies in theaters while working for Netflix. Frankenstein is an excellent movie. And I think Elordi is the person to get nominated for that movie for sure. Although I think Oscar does a great job. But he is the most incredible part of that movie and what he does and how he progresses through the film all the way to the end. And he's heartbreaking as the creature. I mean, heartbreaking. That scene with him and the old man, that whole sequence was fucking amazing. And then the scene at the end. I mean, the father-son stuff at the end, Jesus Christ, I was in tears. Tears at the end of that. I've seen the movie 3 times now, because I just love the majesty of Guillermo del Toro telling this story. And the costume design, the set design, Christoph Waltz is great. And then you get to that, and then the progression of their relationship. And just like I was talking about earlier, the arrogance of competition, the drive of competition, when you have a hearty belief in yourself, and the humility that you must learn to embrace when the thing you created has brought out the monster in you. And that is amazing, and so I thought that was a great message from the movie as well. House of Dynamite didn't get any nominations from Catherine Bigelow for Netflix. That was really surprising. I liked that movie. I know the third act is, some people don't like the third act. I didn't mind the third act. I like movies that are ambiguous. But yeah, that's a big surprise that it didn't get nominated either, because people like Catherine Bigelow, especially in the industry. So, but maybe that's a Netflix thing. Maybe that's another shot at Netflix, And that's another thing about the merger. Maybe this is a way for Netflix to finally get a little bit of credibility. If they buy Warner Brothers, and all goes through, and they start putting out Warner Brothers films in the theaters and respecting theatrical windows for the big films, and maybe some of the medium-sized films, that could change people's attitudes towards Netflix in the industry for award shows. And no matter what Netflix acts like and what Sarandon says, they want Oscars. They wouldn't be submitting their films for Oscars if they didn't want Oscars. They want to win them. And so maybe by being a part of the old Hollywood system with WB, they'll borrow some of that credibility for themselves and their projects, and may find themselves winning awards in ways they didn't in the past. That's very possible, because people in the industry vote for them. And so if you're going to threaten their industry by shortening theatrical windows, by sending a lot of movies to streaming, you're not going to get nominated for shit, and you're not going to win shit. And it's just the honest truth. So I think this is a way of maybe just repairing those bridges a little bit. We'll see. We'll see. No Gilded Age nominations, which is surprising for a lot of people. Like that HBO show, especially Carrie Coon is so great on that show. And then Amanda Seyfried getting nominated for Long Bright River, which I didn't see on Peacock, but I hear good things about. I should give that thing a shot for sure. Helen Mirren getting nominated for Mobland. She was fucking great and unsettling in Mobland. I don't think, Wunmi Masaku being snubbed for Sinners, that's frustrating. I thought she was great in Sinners, so I don't understand why she was snubbed in Sinners. And I also don't think, I don't know. I might put her in over Tiana Taylor. Not that I need to move out a black woman for a black woman, but like thinking right offhand, I love Tiana in the movie, but I just feel like she was only in a little bit of the movie. Now I know time doesn't matter. I get that, but it's not like Judi Dench. It's a different type of thing. Although Judi Dench is not in the movie for more than 9 minutes in Shakespeare in Love, the energy of Judi Dench is all over that movie the whole time. It's not quite the same thing in One Battle, because Chase kind of fills that role. If DiCaprio had spent a majority of the movie trying to find Tiana Taylor, then that's a whole nother ballgame because her energy is all over the movie. But she disappears such a long stretch of time. Whereas Wunmi Masaku was all throughout Sinners and is an essential part of that movie working. So I think she deserved it more. Blue Moon earning a Best Picture nod. That one from Richard Linklater with Ethan Hawke. Really surprising for me. Rachel Sennett didn't make the cut for I Love L.A. I'm not surprised. That's a divisive show. It has its fans, so it's getting a second season. But, that show is a tough watch for those of us who are of a certain age. It's like either PTSD from living in LA, or these characters are not characters you necessarily want to watch on a show. So, K-pop Demon Hunters gets a nod for box office achievement, even though it was only in the box office for a couple of weeks. So very weird. Golden Globes are so weird. Like, I don't want to talk too much shit because I hope one day I could be hired to work for the Golden Globes to be a critic of the movie, because that's like 6 figures and you watch movies all year. Pay me. I'll do it in a heartbeat. It's confusing. Catherine Nasa and Sean Natosi snubbed for The Pit. Right. A lot of people were surprised by that because I think Sean won an Emmy for his work on The Pit, but I think maybe as a director or producer, not necessarily as an actor. So, third Knives Out movie didn't make the cut again, possibly a Netflix snub. The Girlfriend was nominated, and Robin Wright as well. Ashley Walters was nominated for Adolescence. That was good to see because she was so great as the mom. And I recently saw, because you guys know I'm an Anglophile, I recently saw a show that's on Tubi. If you guys have Tubi, and that's free. That's an app that's free. You can download on Apple TV, on Roku. There's a great show called Wolf that is on Tubi, WOLFE, and it stars the actor from Alien Earth, the guy who played the Cyborg. Is that right? The guy who played the Cyborg. He is the lead of that show, Wolf. What's his name again? Yes, Babu Sise. He is great on that show. And Natalia Tena from About a Boy and Harry Potter. She is his wife / ex-wife on the show. And he's leading a team of detectives on the show. And Ashley Walters is great on that show as someone who has an interest in him, but also someone who is calling him out on his bullshit throughout. So it's a fun little 6-episode detective show, but they are forensics people, and so the way they approach crime scenes are completely different. But it's an unusual show that I really like. So I enjoyed that. Now, what about Critics' Choice? Let me see. Let's finish off with Critics' Choice. Is there a Critics' Choice thing where they talk about some of the snubs? Oh no, here we go. Yes, yes. Is that right? This one? Oh no, that's a Golden Globe. All right, let me find the Critics' Choice stuff, and then we'll wrap up here. Also, because I put it in the rundown, Kelsey Grammer. Yeah, what a moronic thing to say that Trump is one of the greatest presidents ever. I mean, as I tweeted out, the man's got tossed salad and scrambled eggs for brains now to say stuff like that. And I love Frasier. Like, Frasier is probably my second or third favorite sitcom ever. Like, ever. I still watch reruns all the time, because that's such an incredibly well-written and well-acted show, tight show. But yeah, it's to say dumb shit like that. It's just, I don't know. It just didn't make any sense to me, because there's a lot of divisiveness. His poll numbers are going down, and so it's just a shame. All right, so I guess there's not. Okay, nominations. Yeah, I mean, the Critics' Choice is pretty much spot on. Like Christian and I covered it on the Christian Harloff show. So if you want to see our thoughts on that, it was pretty spot on. I'm happy for Marty Supreme. I think Hamnet, One Battle After Another, and Marty Supreme are my top three right now that are battling for position. And I think, in my opinion, if either one of those three wins Best Picture, I'm not going to complain. I think there are issues with Sinners. I think there are issues with. I don't know how Wicked for Good got. I don't understand that, but whatever. It got nominated for Best Picture. I don't understand that. It will not get it. If that gets a Best Picture Oscar nomination, I'll be surprised. I'll be really surprised. Chalamet for Best Actor, absolutely. I think he's going to win this thing. Although I'm very happy to see Joel Edgerton nominated for Train Dreams. If you haven't watched it, man, that's on Netflix. Highly recommend Train Dreams. It is such a moving piece. For those of you who might be Terrence Malick fans, it's Terrence Malick but with a through line. It's not Terrence Malick all over the place as his recent films have been. It's Terrence Malick with a through line. It's a period piece. Felicity Jones is damn good in it as well. And it's a commentary on living life when you've come from a situation that isn't that great. And he's a character who's very quiet as he processes and progresses life. He observes life, and then he loses or experiences some tragedy. And just when he's about to get swallowed up by that tragedy, he discovers a new appreciation. And so highly recommend the movie. It's so good. Yeah, Wagner Moura for Secret Agent might win. A lot of people think he's a dark horse. Best Actress, Jessie Buckley, certainly is going to win, in my opinion. But a lot of people thought Rose Byrne, give her a run for her money, so we'll see. It'll probably be those two battling it out. Best Supporting Actor, One Battle After Another. Del Toro's coming on. Elordi's Graham Mescal. Yes, Sean Penn. Adam Sandler, Skarsgård. Yeah, I still think it's Sean Penn's to lose, but I wouldn't be surprised now, like as Jeff has been saying for quite some time, that Del Toro may slide in and steal this thing from him. It's very possible. Especially when you watch that Actors on Actors with him and Julia Roberts. Oof, that was a bit of a train wreck. Best Supporting Actress, Elle Fanning, Ariana Grande, Inga Ibsdottir, Lilias from Sentimental Value, Amy Madigan, Weapons. I think Amy should win. I don't know what people are talking about. I think that's a damn good performance, and it should win the Oscar. Good to see Wunmi Masako being nominated for Critics' Choice and Tana Taylor. So I like that all of them are in that category as well. Best Director, PTA, Ryan Coogler, Del Toro, Josh Safdie, Joaquin Trier, Chloe Zhao. No surprise. Those are all the best films of the year. So no surprise they're nominated for Best Director. Yeah. And so good stuff there. Good. I've not really a lot of complaints about Critics' Choice. Very proud. Not everything I voted for got in, but a lot of what I voted for got in. And so I'm very proud of that list overall. All right. Well, I think that's Amy. Yeah, go Amy. Amy Madigan. Exactly. Is Hamnet good? Yes, it's fucking excellent, dude. It's excellent. Hamnet is excellent. All right. So Delroy Lindo, I would have liked to see him. Yeah, I thought he was snubbed too. I would like to see him get in there. Delroy's so good. I don't disagree with you. I think you move. Paul Mescal out and move Delroy Lindo in. Not that Mescal didn't do a good job with Hamnet, but I've seen Paul act in other things, and I think Paul delivered a solid, strong performance. But it was there to elevate Jessie Buckley, and I don't think what he did separate was necessarily as powerful or worthy of a nomination. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying that I don't necessarily think that it was better than what Delroy did in Sinners, which is a much more attention-grabbing thing. All right. Let's hit these last super chats and Streamlabs. We'll get on out of here. I've been on for 3 hours, for fuck's sake. Jay Scott for real super sticker. Thank you, Jay. Appreciate you, brother. Doug Developer says, I love this trip down memory lane. Do you see yourself pulling a Dan and Christian and returning home to Virginia and doing your show close to family? No. I love my mom. I love my sister. I love my brother, but and my family that's there. But Virginia is not the state for me anymore. I'm happy where I'm at here. And I think, honestly, the next move will be overseas. I think that's something the Lady Outlaw have really talked about a lot. Moving to England is very much a real possibility for us, but It would have to be the right situation. We probably have to plan out for the next 5 years to make that happen. So I think that would be the plan going forward if that happened. I mean, that's such a pipe dream. So many more things would have to fall into place financially for us to make the move to England and work-wise as well. But it's certainly something we've considered and talked about. But no, I mean, unless something happens with my mom that I need to move back, it's not really something that I'm thinking about. I think about moving back to LA more than I think about moving back to Virginia, for sure. Drew says, thanks, John. This is all great content. Oh, thank you, Drew. I appreciate that. John Lawless just says hello. Thank you, John. Appreciate you, man. Thank you for saying hello. John Burkhardt, from one former master control operator to another. Respect. Yeah. You remember the salad days of that shit, man. Commercial. Hit the button. Commercial. Hit the button. Oh, it got stuck. It's not playing. Shit. Oh, man, those days. John also says, you need to talk louder because my wife is yelling at the Eagles. Yes, they are losing. Oh, shit. Did they lose? Did the Eagles lose? I didn't even see. Oh, no, they're winning right now over the Chargers. Oh, thank God I didn't start Herbert tonight. I started Patrick. Only got 8 points. Secular Monk 6527 says, what is the future of physical media if the Netflix merger goes through? As a physical media collector, losing WB and all its movies will kill Blu-rays. Bro, it's been going that direction anyway. Like, I don't know what to tell you. To hold on to things that are, I have lived through 8-tracks and laser discs. You know, like those things go out. I remember when Spielberg and Lucas had a program where you could buy a disc and watch the movie, and after 20 times the disc would stop working. Remember that? I remember that technology. I've lived through it all, man. And if people are no longer buying it, they're going to stop making it. Just as if people are no longer going to movie theaters in great numbers, movie theaters are going to start closing. It's always about the public demand. And so you may want this to keep going, but the truth is there aren't a lot of physical media people. And no matter how much people yell about physical media and yell at other people to get physical media, if people don't want to get physical media, they're not going to get physical media, no matter how much you yell. And so eventually it is going to die out. It's going to be select titles. It's not going to be everything. And it should be everything, by the way. And that's the way it's going to go. You know, and it's unfortunate. I am a collector of physical media. I do not own anything digitally, except for like, you know, Top Gun or something on the computer, which I got years ago. But I think it's like 7. I have The Town, Top Gun, and like The Incredibles, and 4 other movies. I think Appaloosa is on there randomly. I've got like 7 or 8 movies digital on the computer. But everything else I have is physical media. And I will be moving those bookcases behind me so that we'll have a physical media kind of display behind me as well in the near future, when I finally buy the wall slats and make the move for the look of the new look of the studio. But yes, so eventually it is going to go away. You know, I mean, Best Buy, the fact that Best Buy isn't like completely got rid of their physical media, that should tell you something. Costco stopped selling physical media years ago. And so those are those indicators. It's not because they're like, we don't want to give it to you. It's because not enough of you are buying it. So why should we keep sinking costs into making it? That's the unfortunate truth of things. And that's where it's going right now, you know. Physical media is for everyone. I know it is. All right, and let's see if we got any Streamlabs that come through. Nope, no other Streamlabs. All right, let's wrap it up here. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me tonight. I went way over what I anticipated. I only want to go on for 2 hours. I went at 2 hours and 45 minutes, but I hope you don't mind it. And as I said, start preparing yourself. This is going to be a regular occurrence. Hopefully, a lot of you will start showing up consistently when I do these live shows, because I essentially want to become like drive time for you guys. Like Christians in the morning, I want to own the drive time slot, maybe 3 to 6 every day or 4 to 6 every day, because I do want to stop by 6 so I can go to screenings. But that is kind of my thought pattern as we go into the new year. It's a challenging decision, but it's something I want to kind of challenge myself to do and see how far I can take it, and challenge myself to create new segments, bring on guests, talk about other topics. This is the truth. So it isn't just entertainment. And I want to be able to because I think our world is becoming a much more melded world, where the lines are much more blurrier between politics and entertainment and sports and all this stuff. Like I think, and the world affairs, I think all of it is bleeding into itself. We're seeing that now. So talking about all of it, giving myself a place to talk about all of it, and hearing from you all, I think would be great. And that might be a way to explore YouTube memberships as well, which is something I really want to open the door to as well. Another avenue for doing that. Good. So yes. So thank you guys. You guys have been amazing. Oh, Princess says, I love how long this live stream has gone. Rocha helped me get through bedtime of a toddler. Thank you. So, oh, that's good. I appreciate any help I can do for you guys. So yeah, 100%. So we will see what it is. So look for announcements coming soon. And I'll probably spill the tequila into it. So it would be like it would be the truth, and then Spill the Tequila would come on like an hour after the show started, and then Winston and I would do our regular Spill the Tequila show, and then I would stay on like a half an hour afterwards to kind of wrap things up after Winston left. So that would be the plan. Now I think the only night we wouldn't do that is the hot mic night, which is Thursday night. So that'll stay its own thing. But every other night, I think I'm going to try to do a live show, and on the weekends, I'm going to try to do content for the weekends as well, like two videos a week, 2 videos a day on the weekend as well. So that's the plan. It's a lot of work. So, but thank you all so much. Please remember to subscribe to the channel down below. Hit that bell button. You know, marching towards 50,000 subscribers. Would love you all to come aboard. Let me know what you thought about all the things I talked about with Paramount, WB, and Netflix, with the Critics' Choice Awards, with the Golden Globe Awards, with our trip down memory lane with the Schmoedown and Collider. Let me know about what your thoughts about it. Ask me all the questions you want to ask about. Keep it civil. Keep it respectful. I'll just delete your comment if you're a jerk off. You guys know that's how I operate. And I've got to do better about doing that. Don't respond, delete the comment. I've got to do better at that for myself. That is a resolution for 2026 for sure. I want to be a better, kinder person on the internet. I've been saying that for years. I'm trying for years. I think I'm better than I used to be. I want to be even better than that. We will see. But yes, thank you all so much. I love you madly. Take care of yourselves. Be well. If you want to subscribe to my Patreon, patreon.com/John Rocha. If you just want to support what we do, you can subscribe to the Patreon. There are benefits there for you as well. Go and check all that out. I would appreciate it very much. Patreon.com/John Rocha. Don't forget the Cinephiles. We just finished up our Wizard of Oz conversation. We just recorded part 1 of Annie Hall that will be out on Friday. And then we're moving into our Christmas movie, which will be the Christmas Story. A Christmas Story. If you guys have never listened to Cinephiles, we've been doing the show for like 10 years. We have anywhere from 150,000 to 200,000 downloads a month of our content, breaking down one great film over multiple parts. And you can go and listen to that on podcasts as well with me and my partner, Steve Morris. Of course, Geek Buddies coming up, Hot Mic coming up, I Spill the Tequila tomorrow night. So much happening here on the channel. So please subscribe and tell all your friends about it as well. All right, I'll talk to you soon. Take care of yourselves. Be well. And of course, the podcast. Don't forget about the podcast. Please subscribe to the John Rocha channel, where all the audio lives, except for the Hot Mic Geek Buddies. All the stuff is on there. So please, including this, will be on there later. So please subscribe to the podcast as well. All right, that's it. That's all my plugging. You guys are amazing. Take care of yourselves. Have a great night. And I'll talk to you next time with another brand new episode of The Truth. Peace.